The white tiger old man revealed a cold gaze. Wang Lin's attitude made him very uncomfortable. He had reached the critical years in his healing, and because of how the healing laws worked, he couldn't use more than early-stage arcane void cultivation. If he did, he would have issues in the future. He originally thought this much power would be enough to kill Wang Lin. However, that attack from Wang Lin was extremely strange, and it caused the white tiger old man's mind to tremble. It made him feel like he couldn't see through Wang Lin's true strength. In addition, Wang Lin had broken the celestial sovereign's seal, which caused the white tiger to feel dread and fear. However, he had been cultivating as a celestial for countless years, and wouldn't be pushed back after just a few words from Wang Lin. His pride also wouldn't let him retreat. He was a celestial, and in his view, no matter how powerful Wang Lin was just a lower realm ant. The more calm Wang Lin was, the more pressure the white tiger old man felt, and the more angry he became. He was not only angry at Wang Lin, but more at himself for feeling fear. He couldn't imagine how he could come to fear a lower realm ant. With a roar, the white tiger old man's eyes released a white light. This white light contained an extremely powerful and domineering aura. This aura came from the old man's cultivation method. This was the power of the fierce white tiger star. As he roared, the white tiger old man stepped forward and charged at Wang Lin. His right hand formed a seal as he pointed at the sky and let out a roar. "So what if I force you? If you can take 3 of my spells, then you have the right to talk to us." The old man's voice rumbled, and a thunderous rumble echoed across the ancient celestial realm. This sent off countless muffled echoes, and made it sound like it wasn't just one person who roared, but countless people. As a result, this roar was heaven shaking and formed a powerful impact that caused the earth to tremble. First style, tiger roar sweeps the mountains and rivers. The old man waved his sleeves and a monstrous white tiger appeared behind him. This white tiger was extremely mighty, and its eyes flashed white as it looked at Wang Lin. It let out a heaven-shattering roar. This roar shook the sky. The sky of the ancient celestial realm looked like it was about to collapse. Fish-like scales appeared in the sky and fell, creating irregular cracks in space. The earth behind Wang Lin trembled violently. A violent wind roared and the earth showed signs of collapse as the trembling increased. The earth seemed to have suddenly gone soft, and the rumbles continued to spread endlessly in all directions. From afar, it looked like countless scars were created on the earth. It was extremely shocking. The roar from the tiger completely replaced all other sounds in this world. The sounds echoed and integrated together to form an extremely powerful force. As the earth cracked, it suddenly collapsed. The sky seemed to collapse, and the fragments shattered. This caused the world to be shrouded in darkness. The only thing that remained was the violent tiger roar that was becoming louder and louder. Wang Lin's ears rumbled as he stood in the air. The sky above him disintegrated, and the earth below his feet collapsed. His entire body was surrounded by the roar of the white tiger. The wind caused his hair and clothes to flutter. It was trying to rip his body apart. If it wasn't for the fact he had the body of ancient god, his body would have collapsed even with his mid-stage spirit void cultivation. Then, after his body collapsed, his origin soul would be seriously injured. This tiger roar contained a pressure that was no weaker than the might of the heavens. In Wang Lin's eyes, the might from the tiger had broken a limit and could devour all life. This was the ancient celestial realm, the core of this cave. If it was outside in the inner realm or the outer realm, then the sky would change colors. Countless planets, and even space itself would collapse. Many cultivators would die to this roar. Wang Lin's body didn't retreat from the roar and wind. He was calm and closed his eyes. When he closed his eyes, everything in the world became false. This false was something created by his mind, so it was not actually real, but Wang Lin had comprehended the true and false Tao. If he thought it was false, then his body, his origin soul, his mind, his everything would think the outside world was false. The true and false essence was a type of ethereal essence. It was born from the heart. The moment Wang Lin closed his eyes, his hair stopped fluttering in the wind as if the wind had disappeared. His hair scattered and draped over his shoulders. His clothes were also flapping in the wind, but at this moment they also calmed down. It was as if there was no wind hitting them. It was as if there was no wind around him. However, in truth, the roar of the wind became several times stronger, and the tiger roar was also several times stronger. The collapse of the earth extended and the disintegration of the sky spread. Wang Lin's body remained untouched and calm. Wang Lin's calmness before the wind and tiger roar was a huge contradiction that didn't fit in with the rest of the world. The white tiger old man let out a roar and took a step forward. He moved like lightning toward Wang Lin. In an instant, he closed in on Wang Lin. He waved his right hand and golden light gathered in his palm, forming a golden blade. This blade was 10 feet tall, and the white tiger old man held it up. The moment he closed in, he raised his arm and chopped down on Wang Lin's head. This chop caused the tiger roar to become even more intense. The sky changed colors and the wind became even stronger. The blade fell on Wang Lin, who had his eyes closed. There was no resistance. The blade chopped straight through Wang Lin. A sharp sound echoed when the heaven-splitting blade cut through Wang Lin, but no injuries appeared on his body. It was as if the blade had only cut through a shadow of Wang Lin. True and false essence. This is the true and false essence. Damn it, the 7 laws the celestial sovereign set prevented the birth of ethereal essences. If not for the fact that he was seriously injured and had to withdraw those 7 laws, this person would have never had the chance to comprehend this ethereal essence. The white tiger old man's eyes were filled with shock, but he was also unwilling to give up. He waved the blade in his hand thousands of times. Sharp howls continued to echo, but Wang Lin's figure remained an illusion. The blade chopped through his body, but nothing about him changed. The moment the white tiger old man swept the blade for the last time, Wang Lin opened his eyes and said one thing. "Have you chopped enough?" After he said this, the old man retreated without hesitation, but as he retreated, Wang Lin stepped forward. He immediately appeared before the old man and raised his right hand. His right hand formed a palm and gently hit the old man's chest. This palm was gentle and powerless, as if it had no killing power. However, the moment it landed, the expression of the white tiger old man changed greatly. A sense of life and death filled his mind. This seemingly gentle palm caused him to feel terror. This is he wanted to retreat more to get away from Wang Lin's hand, but it was too late. When Wang Lin's palm landed, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Then his fingers buckled and he pulled his hand back. A monstrous rumble echoed, and the old man coughed out blood. His body retreated as if he was a kite with a broken string. However, a white gas was pulled out from the old man and gathered in Wang Lin's hand. Karma! This is karma essence. You actually have 2 ethereal essences. Wang Lin coldly looked at the white tiger old man. The sound of the tiger roar was still lingering in his ears. With a cold snort, Wang Lin didn't chase, but crushed the white gas in his hand. The white tiger old man trembled and coughed out blood, and then started to retreat even faster. You welcome me with the tiger roar, so I'll return the favor. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he put his right hand between his eyebrows. His ancient god stars appeared, and the stars in his left and right eye also appeared. The ancient head appeared behind him. The shadows of the 3 ancient clans appeared around the ancient head and occupied the world behind Wang Lin. At this moment, Wang Lin let out a roar. As he roared, the ancient head also opened its mouth and let out a roar. The 3 ancient clan shadows also opened their mouths and let out roars. These roars completely suppressed the tiger roar and formed an indescribable sound wave that smashed forward. The white tiger old man was pierced by the roar, making him stagger. His hands formed a seal, and the large white tiger fused with the old man. Looking from afar, the old man disappeared, and only the incomparably large white tiger could be seen. The tiger roared and fled from the roars of the 3 ancient clans. The year of the dragon is approaching. Leo's year is coming fast, fervently shouting for the like button for the VIDEO, wishing to be drowned in happiness by the likes for the VIDEO. Wang Lin stepped forward, and as he closed in, the roar from the ancient head spread out. The earth collapsed once more, and as the clouds scattered, this roar became the strongest sound in the world. The sound wave from the roar went through Wang Lin and shot toward the giant white tiger. When the sound wave hit, the white tiger became distorted and showed signs of collapsing. It held on, but it retreated even faster. Although this fierce tiger contained endless majesty, it was still inferior to Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed forward. The ancient head behind him went through his body and chased after the white tiger. From afar, this was a scene that could shock one's mind. The collapsing sky seemed to be split in half. Half of it was the ancient head and the other half was the huge white tiger. One behemoth retreated while the other pushed forward. The distance between them lessened, and the ancient head instantly closed in on the white tiger to devour it. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The collision of the ancient head and white tiger resulted in a massive shockwave that spread across the ancient celestial realm. The earth collapsed, and even some of the statues behind the four giant statues exploded. This shockwave seemed like it was going to destroy the entire ancient celestial realm. Under the force of this shockwave, the white tiger's giant body collapsed and turned into specks of light. The white-haired old man coughed out a large mouth of blood and his body flew back. He smashed into the mountain-like statue he had been healing inside of. Cracking sounds echoed and countless cracks spread across the statue the old man hit. The cracks made the statue seem like it would collapse at any moment. Wang Lin also retreated from this impact, and his face turned slightly pale. However, the coldness in his calm gaze became even stronger. This was the most intense battle Wang Lin had without using the Li Guang bow. He wasn't fighting a cultivator or something from the outer realm. He was fighting one of the four generals under the celestial sovereign, the White Tiger General. The White Tiger General had lived for a long time. He didn't belong to the inner realm or the outer realm. He was from the mysterious immortal astral continent. He was a celestial, a real celestial. His bloodline contained celestial energy, which placed him on a higher level of existence than Wang Lin. If it wasn't for the fact that he was seriously injured back then and still hadn't fully recovered, Wang Lin would be having an even more difficult time right now. However, in a battle of life and death, there was no fairness. Life was life, death was death. As Wang Lin retreated, the ancient head and the shadows of the three ancient clans also retreated. The three shadows collapsed, and only the head remained. It covered the sky, but it was becoming blurry. Wang Lin was at the mid-stage of spirit void, but with his ancient god body and spells, he could battle early-stage arcane void cultivators. Even if the enemy's cultivation level was beyond early-stage arcane void, he could take out the Li Guang bow. The power of one arrow from the bow was enough to shock the world. The white tiger old man's body was smashed into the statue, and while his expression was fierce, there was a deep sense of dread in his eyes. However, this dread wasn't enough for him to retreat. He was the White Tiger General, someone from the immortal astral continent, one of the four great generals under the seven-colored celestial sovereign. He had experienced countless battles and witnessed the huge changes in the cave world. He had his pride, and he wouldn't allow a lower realm ant to beat him. Even though this lower realm ant was making him feel fear, he suppressed this fear by force. Western White Tiger Dao, power of the 7 stars of heaven, all matter from grass to metal. My White Tiger inheritance condenses all the power to form my White Tiger clan's grand spell. Seal this person. Show him that if you ride a tiger, it's hard to get off. The White Tiger old man roared. Then he pressed his hand against the statue. He then flew away from the statue, and his hands formed a seal. His eyes gave off a monstrous light, and he pointed at Wang Lin. With this point, the endless specks of light from the white tiger reappeared. They gathered toward Wang Lin at an unimaginable speed. In an instant, the endless white light formed the shocking white tiger under Wang Lin. From afar, it looked like Wang Lin was standing on the white tiger. A powerful pressure spread out from the white tiger, and the space around Wang Lin seemed to be sealed. This pressure became even stronger until it formed a powerful seal. This seal was suppressing Wang Lin. It was invisible, but Wang Lin could clearly feel it. His expression was solemn, but this seal suppressed the world around Wang Lin, making him feel like he was in quagmire, and even his breathing became heavy. Popping sounds came from Wang Lin's body. The sealing power from the white tiger below him was preventing him from getting away from it. As time passed, the pressure from the seal increased. It was like big hands were holding Wang Lin's body down. His body moved closer and closer to the white tiger until he was standing on top of it and unable to move an inch. The white tiger roared and all the hair on its body stood up. Its fur looked like blades of grass dancing. A glaring white light came from its body, and countless runes could be seen flashing on its body. These runes were like seal. When a large amount of runes appeared, the white tiger seemed to have become a living seal. As more and more runes appeared, the white tiger's body turned into a giant white vortex. Countless seals rotated inside the vortex, and a howl echoed. If one looked carefully, it wasn't a vortex at all. It was the giant white tiger running in circles below Wang Lin so fast that it formed a vortex. The vortex had shocking suction force, and with the sealing power holding him down, it was impossible for Wang Lin to get out. It was like a mortal riding a tiger. The mortal couldn't get off at all. This was the White Tiger General S spell. If you ride a tiger, it's hard to get off. It was a spell and also a seal. White Tiger Spirit. Take this person's soul and suppress it under the cave, under the 7 Dao mountain of the immortal astral continent. The White Tiger old man waved his arms and let out a fierce roar. As his voice echoed, a shocking tiger roar came from the vortex. A fierce tiger hundreds of feet large flew out from the vortex. This white tiger was the spirit of the White Tiger. It was like the origin soul of a cultivator. As it charged out from the vortex, it continued to distort, and its majesty became even stronger. As it charged toward Wang Lin, it didn't devour Wang Lin directly but entangled him like a python. It opened its mouth toward Wang Lin's head and was about to pull Wang Lin into the vortex below. If Wang Lin was taken away, he would be suppressed in the lowest part of the cave until death. Wang Lin had never seen this White Tiger old man's spell before. This was a spell that didn't belong in this world. It came from the immortal astral continent. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy, and as the White Tiger's mouth closed in, Wang Lin raised his left hand and pressed it against the tiger's mouth. What a good spell. Today, I want to get off this tiger. Since you want to suppress me, then let's see if it's this tiger suppressing me or I suppressing this tiger. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, but he didn't use any spells. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his aura changed. The aura of a grand scholar spread out from his body. At this moment, he wasn't a cultivator. He was a grand scholar. He was a grand scholar who had comprehended the truth about the heavens and learned that this world was just a cave. With this grand scholar aura, Wang Lin feared nothing, and his eyes were calm but gave off a powerful force. He turned his head and looked at the tiger spirit. With a gaze, his aura rushed to suppress the tiger spirit. This tiger spirit was not a celestial beast formed by a spell, but ordinary like a mortal tiger. You dare to devour me? Wang Lin spoke slowly and then suddenly opened his eyes. He stared at the tiger spirit and gave off a sense of pressure without being angry. He had the aura of a grand scholar that wasn't even afraid of heaven, so how could he be afraid of this little tiger? The tiger spirit that was wrapped around him trembled, and a hint of fear appeared in its eyes. An uncontrollable stream of thoughts went through in its mind. It was as if it had seen through many reincarnations. It saw its ancestor White Tiger kneeling and worshipping the heavens on the immortal astral continent. It didn't know that thoughts like this existed in its mind, but it felt fear that came from its soul. As Wang Lin spoke, he seemed to turn into heaven itself and suppress the tiger spirit. This pressure contained all of Wang Lin's comprehension, his 3 ethereal essences, and his endless might. The tiger spirit sobbed and let go of Wang Lin's body. It then retreated and lowered its head at Wang Lin. The white-haired old man looked at this with disbelief in his eyes. 6,000 words in a major chapter. Wishing for sharing, for likes on the video. The tiger spirit lowered its head and bowed at Wang Lin. It then charged into the vortex and fused with it. The vortex disappeared and turned back into the giant white tiger. The white tiger let out a cry and leaped out from under Wang Lin and into the sky. In the distance, it turned back to look at Wang Lin and completely ignored the white-haired old man. It shook its body and then turned into endless specks of white light that lit up the ancient celestial realm. Impossible! The white-haired old man's face was pale. His eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. Just as the world was being lit up by the white light from the dissipating white tiger, an azure silhouette walked out from the vortex of one of the statues. As it appeared, a dragon's roar echoed. The silhouette turned into a giant azure dragon that stretched across the sky. At the same time, an old man wearing an azure robe walked out from the azure dragon. He turned into a ray of light and shot toward Wang Lin. It was faster than lightning, and this happened right as the glaring light dissipated. When the old man in the azure robe closed in on Wang Lin, his right index finger stretched out. His gaze was calm, but there was a hit of killing intent as he pressed his finger toward Wang Lin's head. As his finger moved, the giant azure dragon behind him moved even faster and caught up with the old man. It entered his body, went into his finger, and shot toward Wang Lin. From afar, it looked like a painting. In the painting, the old man in the azure robe was covered in an azure light, and behind him, a long azure dragon stretched out. It was as if the old man had disappeared, and had been replaced with the azure dragon that was closing in on Wang Lin. All of this happened too fast. He was within 3 feet of Wang Lin instantly. At the same time, an old man in black walked out from another statue. The moment he appeared, the sky darkened and a giant black tortoise appeared. It let out a shocking roar. When the old man in black appeared, he also moved like lightning and charged at Wang Lin. He moved at the same speed as the old man in azure and threw a punch. The black tortoise shadow became distorted with the roar and fused with the old man. Countless thorns appeared on his fist. The azure dragon general and the black tortoise general both decided to attack at this moment in almost a sneak attack. They flew straight at Wang Lin. The 4 great generals had worked together for many years and knew each other well. The moment the two attacked, the white tiger general wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Although he didn't have the white tiger shadow, he still had the blade in his hand. He jumped into the air and slashed down toward Wang Lin with a roar. Only the vermilion bird general didn't appear. It was as if he believed that the combined attack of those 3 was enough to kill Wang Lin. All of this happened in an instant. The azure dragon general closed in. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the feeling of a life and death crisis surrounded him. Other people would panic, but Wang Lin had spent his life constantly experiencing this feeling and had long grown accustomed to it. The more dangerous it was, the more calm he would become. In his heart, he really didn't consider those injured celestials a danger. So what if they attacked at the same time? Wang Lin let out a laugh and raised his right hand. He extended his index finger and pointed at the azure dragon's finger. During this process, the ancient head behind him fused with his finger. At the same time, all his stars rotated, and the 3 ancient powers fused to form Wang Lin's original ancient spell, Ancient Immortal Finger. This finger could break the 7-colored celestial sovereign's seal, so why would Wang Lin need to fear this injured azure dragon? With the point of his finger, the sky changed colors, and the clouds shattered. The azure dragon general was no longer calm, and his expression changed. The next instant, his finger collided with Wang Lin. Thunderous rumbles echoed. This shocking sound was enough to shake one's mind. The moment they collided, the azure dragon general coughed out blood and the endless azure dragon behind him collapsed. The azure dragon general was forced back 1,000 feet before he barely stopped himself. His eyes were filled with fear. The ancient immortal finger contained the most powerful blow from Wang Lin's ancient inheritance. It wouldn't completely collapse, because it could recover endlessly. The azure dragon general's finger had only caused it collapse several hundred times. It was far weaker than the seal. Hundreds of collapses were not enough to destroy Wang Lin's ancient immortal finger. The one forced to retreat was the azure dragon general. However, Wang Lin's body suffered as well. Only his finger was immortal, not his body. Blood flowed out from the corner of Wang Lin's mouth. A rumble echoed in his body, and his internal organ gave off bursts of pain. However, Wang Lin suppressed this intense pain, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. After forcing back the azure dragon general, the drop of golden blood containing the celestial immortal body flew out. The pressure it gave off terrified the 4 generals. This drop of blood contained extremely pure celestial bloodline. The black tortoise general was the closest to Wang Lin right now and was hit by the golden light. It was as if he was going to be turned to gas by the light as black smoke appeared on his body. A miserable scream quickly followed. The drop of golden blood flew out from Wang Lin's eyebrows and flew toward the black tortoise general. The drop of blood penetrated his hands, and the black tortoise shadow behind him collapsed. He let out a painful roar. The black tortoise general coughed out blood and rapidly retreated. His body was surrounded by black gas, and his right fist was a bloody mess. His eyes were filled with fear as he fled. Celestial bloodline. You actually have celestial bloodline. Impossible, the purity of this celestial bloodline. This is the immortal celestial body. As it retreated, the drop of golden blood flew back to Wang Lin. One finger had forced back azure dragon, and one drop of blood had collapsed the black tortoise. However, the crisis wasn't over. there was still the heaven-splitting blade from the injured White Tiger General. The blade closed in with a howl. As it closed in, Wang Lin raised his head and suppressed the raging energy inside him. He then raised his right hand and pressed toward the descending blade. A 9-colored firestorm surged with his palm, and then thunder followed. The fire formed a palm print that flew toward the White Tiger General's blade. Thunder gathered and formed another palm filled with thunder. It followed directly after the fire palm. This wasn't the end. After the thunder palm, the power of karma gathered to form a mass of chaotic energy that turned into the third palm. The life and death essence was next. The black and white gases fused to form the fourth palm print. The true and false essence appeared. The interchange between true and false caused the fifth palm print to instantly form. In the end, a shocking slaughter essence erupted from Wang Lin's body to form the sixth palm print. The six palm prints connected, looking like afterimages as they flew toward the blade from the White Tiger General. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world and formed a storm. As the rumbles echoed, the blade in the White Tiger General's hand broke down. After the blade collapsed, the six palm prints landed on his chest. The White Tiger General let out a scream, and a large amount of celestial energy erupted from his body. As he was knocked back, the Azure Dragon General and the Black Tortoise General supported the seriously injured White Tiger General from behind. "Help me rip open the healing seal so I can release my essence and kill him." The White Tiger General looked weak, and his face was pale, but his eyes gave off a ferocious light. He pushed back the Azure Dragon and the Black Tortoise. His white hair was a mess, and he began to roar like crazy. As he roared, his aura began to erupt, and a golden rune appeared between his eyebrows. "Azure Dragon, Black Tortoise, help me open the seal. If not for the fact we have to recover our cultivator, we wouldn't be getting pushed back by this ant. I kill." What qualification does he have to push back celestials like us? He is merely a lower realm ant. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral, but he was still injured. He almost wasn't able to withstand the joint attack from the three of them. If not for the fact that he had many methods up his sleeves, he would have been seriously injured. Now that he saw the White Tiger go crazy, he raised his left hand and reached at the void. A golden glare came from his palm, and when the golden light disappeared, an ancient bow appeared. His left hand held the bow and his right hand pulled the bowstring. Wang Lin pulled it back until it was drawn completely. An ancient arrow slowly appeared on the bowstring. The moment the buzz from the bowstring echoed, everything became silent. The White Tiger no longer roared and no longer tried to rip open the seal. He stood there, stunned as he looked at the bow in Wang Lin's hands. An unhideable fear appeared in his eyes. The Azure Dragon General was also startled for a moment. He subconsciously retreated, and his eyes were filled with fear. "Li Guang's bow." The Black Tortoise General was also terrified. The black gas around his body had just been suppressed, but when he saw the bow, his face turned deathly pale. "Fellow Celestia Wang Lin, please don't be angry. Please give this old man some face and let us talk." During this silence, a red-robed silhouette walked out from the last of the four statues. He was slightly embarrassed as he clasped his hands at Wang Lin. "Nearly 3,800 words, already quite long. Day by day people say it's short, look at others, all 2,000 words a chapter. Leo is that long. Wouldn't you cast a like for Leo's video?" Chapter: The Mysterious Corpse. Of the four major sects, only the Corpse sect had returned to Ho Fen after the rank cultivation country came and cleared out the fire beasts. This move confused many people. Although the fire beasts had been cleared out, the spiritual energy there was too violent to cultivate. As a result, the entire country was a dead zone for cultivators. The Corpse sect didn't give any explanation and just disappeared one night. The Corpse sect was very mysterious in the eyes of the other three sects. Although they didn't have many nascent soul cultivators, every time the nascent soul cultivators gathered, they could feel a terrifying power within the Corpse sect's nascent soul cultivators. Taking that into consideration, the three major sects just kept silent and didn't attempt to stop them. In the western part of Hufen, below the erupting volcanoes, there was a huge cave leading into a network of interconnecting tunnels and caves that formed its own underground world. Compared to Zhao's Corpse sect, the structure was fairly similar, only it was a bit larger. The current Corpse sect's sect head, Zhao Chuanliang, was down on one knee before an irregularly shaped crystal made of many intersecting crystals. Zhao Chuanliang was being very respectful. Hints of fear would occasionally surface and then disappear from his face. He whispered, "Shangzong, please give me just a few more days, and I promise I'll find out what happened to Soul Number. If I give you a few days, then who will give me a few days? Soul Number is a disciple of the Tiangang sect of Tiangang, which is where I am in charge. And now they have come looking for him. According to calculations, Soul Number should have already finished possessing the body. What am I going to tell them?" Zhao Chuanliang secretly cursed. His face revealed a look of panic, and he quickly said, "Shangzong, I have already found some clues and found where Soul Number disappeared. From analyzing the clues, it seems like a disciple of the war god shrine named Ma Liang is related. I have received news that he recently appeared in Xuanwu, so I have sent people over. As long as you give me 10 days, I'll definitely be able to find the truth." The face of the person inside the crystal became a little more relaxed as he looked at Zhao Chuanliang and sighed. "Chuanliang, I'll give you 10 days to find it because it has that body. However, if you still show no results in 10 days, don't blame me for reporting this to the rank cultivation country division. With how they work, they will definitely take away your right to choose a body after you have been possessed." With that, the face in the crystal slowly disappeared. Zhao Chuanliang slumped to the ground and bitterly smiled. If that Soul Number is someone from Tiangang, then wouldn't it be better for him to just possess a body there instead? Why must he be thrown to me, However, in his heart he understood that when someone needed to possess a body, they would always do it in another country. A cold voice came out from Zhao Chuanliang. "Forget about your chance to choose a body, Zhao Chuanliang. You seem to be in a bad situation." Zhao Chuanliang sighed and asked, "Yi Zizai, what should I do?" What to do? I don't know either, but as Zhao's former corpse sect head, I have encountered a similar situation. The situation with my junior disciple was similar but slightly different too. Soul Number's soul lamp hasn't gone out yet, meaning he is still alive. If you can find him, it will be for the best, but if you can then you will be in danger. However, I am very curious. Shangzong said that he would give you 10 days because it's this body. What is your relationship with the former owner of that body?" Zhao Chuanliang calmly said, "It was my younger brother. Both of us entered the corpse sect years ago. His talent was better than mine, so he was picked by Shangzong." Yi Zizai sneered. His voice was filled with discontent. "If it wasn't for the fact that the perfect body I had prepared for myself was found by the rank cultivation country and taken away from me, I would have already recovered my cultivation and finished the possession." Zhao Chuanliang took a deep breath as he placed a piece of jade on his forehead. After a few moments he threw the jade. "All core formation and above cultivators, follow me on a trip to the Hufen Union." With one order, all of the disciples of the corpse sect opened their eyes. A ghostly light appeared in their eyes. As for Wang Lin, although the divine path was indeed extraordinary, it was not fitting for him to cultivate. He pondered for a bit before letting out a sigh and began to leave. What surprised Wang Lin was that the divine path now remained in his head instead of disappearing like normal. However, when Wang Lin attempted to make a copy of it, he still couldn't do it. It felt like there was an invisible force preventing the divine path from being recorded. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before giving up on writing it down. He looked around at the water mirror doors. All of them were dark and looked exactly the same. He pondered for a bit before spreading out his divine sense, but there seemed to be a layer of protection on the water mirror doors that would bounce his divine sense back. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at the entrance. The red-faced old man was just probably outside that door. He jumped and landed before one of the water mirror doors. He reached into the water mirror door with his hand and felt the cool sensation. Soon he reached a stone wall. Wang Lin withdrew his hand and began to ponder. He quickly took out the jade containing the war god shrine's refining methods and began to search through it. The three main parts of the war god shrine's refining method were extract, melt, and fuse. All magic treasure refining followed these three processes. Wang Lin quickly found something called reverse refining in the jade. Reverse refining was originally meant for cultivators to exchange refining methods. To reverse engineer the magic treasure to find out how it is created, and then recreate the same magic treasure. Long-term practice of reverse refining can increase one's refining capability. To reverse refine other people's products, to learn their methods, and to use those methods to refine your own treasures. However, this kind of reverse refining can only be used on a treasure that is created through extract, melt, and fusion. Wang Lin carefully looked at the process before putting the jade away. He put his hands together before his chest and sent spiritual energy into them. When he moved his hands, there were threads of spiritual energy connecting his two palms. Wang Lin shouted, "Go!" The threads were cut down the middle. The broken ends drilled into the water mirror door with the other end still connected to Wang Lin's hand. As Wang Lin poured spiritual energy into his hand, more and more threads appeared until there was enough to wrap around the entire water mirror door. The fusion part of the refining process was similar to balancing the spiritual energy and formation inside a magic treasure to reach a mysterious balance. The reverse refining process requires the exact opposite, as the first step was to break this balance. Once it succeeded, the balance would be broken. Wang Lin kept pouring spiritual energy in with a calm expression, but his gaze was locked onto the water mirror door. His expression suddenly changed as the threads coming out of his hand began to tremble and a very bright ring of light appeared at the center of the water mirror door. This ring released soft crackling sounds until it completely shattered. The moment it shattered, the light expanded to the edges of the temple and disappeared. The water mirror door became dim. Wang Lin knew that the balance inside had been broken. What was next was to split the materials and the spirit core that were used to make the door in the melting process. Wang Lin's expression was serious as he slowly withdrew the threads of spiritual energy. As the thread was withdrawn, the water mirror door began to shake and the edges of the temple began to shine. The light slowly withdrew from the edges of the temple and became a ball of light. There were countless threads on the ball of light, all of which were connected to Wang Lin's hand. Wang Lin shouted, "Withdraw!" The ball of light was pulled out of the door as Wang Lin quickly shook his hand and the thread disappeared back into his body. Wang Lin looked at the ball of light with a smile on his face. He completed the second step of reverse refining, which was to split the melting process. The spirit core had been split from the other materials of the treasure. Wang Lin took a deep breath and looked back at the entrance. He didn't know how long he had been in here, but these water mirror doors cut off divine sense and spiritual energy. So, no matter how much of a commotion he created in here, no one outside would notice. In addition to that, the red-faced elder didn't believe that Wang Lin could break the water mirror door with only his core formation cultivation, so he didn't wait inside. This gave Wang Lin a chance, but he knew that he had to be quick, otherwise the red-faced elder would suddenly come in. Everything would be for nothing if he did. Thinking about this, he quickly took out the reaction furnace he had made in the Tia Valley. He carefully put the spirit core inside the reaction furnace and placed a seal on it. Then the reaction furnace immediately began to spin. It was slow at first, but then it went faster and faster. After sending out the seal, he walked toward the door. This water mirror door was made of two parts, the stone door's device core and the spirit core. Now that he had removed the spirit core, the only thing that blocked him was the stone door's device core. Wang Lin raised his hand and pressed on the door. His divine sense quickly went inside. After sweeping it with his divine sense, his expression immediately became strange. Inside the stone room was only a corpse that contained an invisible power that prevented it from rotting. The corpse was sitting there with its finger pointing to the ground. A trace of black aura was going from the finger into the ground. Wang Lin's divine sense carefully examined the inside of the room before he withdrew it. What he saw inside made him start rubbing his chin. He reached out toward the reaction furnace, causing it to stop and making the spirit core come out. The spirit core was now dimmer than it was before. Wang Lin looked at it before throwing it back into the reaction furnace. The furnace began to spin again when the spirit core was inside it. His gaze fell onto the next stone room. After opening 10 more water mirror doors, his expression became ever more strange. Wang Lin muttered to himself, "What the hell is the war god shrine doing? Could this place be a grave?" Every single stone room contained a corpse and nothing else. Wang Lin looked around and began to ponder. He quickly opened the water mirror doors, checked inside, and then put the spirit cores back to return the water mirror doors to normal. After checking everyone's single stone room, he finally found something abnormal. One corpse was clearly different from all the others. Instead of sitting down, it was floating in the air. Slivers of black gas were coming out of the walls and making their way into the body. Wang Lin's heart immediately tightened. This person wasn't dead. There were signs of life on him, and the amount of life in that body would shock anyone. Wang Lin was about to exit the room when he noticed the black silk bag under the body. This was obviously a bag of holding. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed after he had looked at it for a bit. After pondering for a while, he didn't act recklessly, but instead withdrew his divine sense and backed up. After backing out of the room, Wang Lin looked toward the reaction furnace. The speed at which the reaction furnace was spinning had slowed down, and the spirit core had already melted into a clear liquid. Without a second thought, Wang Lin reached into the liquid. He grabbed a portion and molded it back into a ball before throwing it back at the first door he had opened. That door immediately returned to the way it was before. After that, he revealed an undecided expression. That bag of holding appeared to be very different from ones he had seen before. However, this was the war god Shrine's temple. They allowed him to view the divine path, so it was really hard to justify taking something from here as well. If the stone rooms contained refining materials, he wouldn't mind taking some of it, but only this one stone room was different from the rest. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin suddenly gained some insight. Could it be that all of the corpses in those stone rooms were in fact used for the person in the abnormal room to cultivate with? While thinking about this, a thought struck Wang Lin. The black gas going into that person's body was the same as the black gas the corpses were emitting. Wang Lin's face was filled with terror. He was now convinced that his guess was correct. This person had to be cultivating some type of technique. He had looked at the more than stone rooms. The corpses inside them must have been prepared for this person to use. Wang Lin pondered for a bit. He began to suspect that this person was not a member of the war god shrine. It was likely that the war god shrine didn't even know this person, or else the red-faced elder wouldn't have been so casual in here. And more importantly, he wouldn't have left Wang Lin in here by himself. Of course, there was a chance that the red-faced elder had evil intentions, but after thinking about it, Wang Lin's death would bring no benefit to the war god shrine. There was really no need for all this trouble. The more he analyzed it, the more he was certain of his own speculations. This place must have been the resting place for the war god shrine's ancestors. For some reason, it attracted this person to cultivate his technique here. Thinking about this, Wang Lin backed up a few steps. He felt waves of cold air pass by. It was like a pair of eyes had been staring at him these past few days. But his eyes quickly moved back onto the bag of holding. He spat out a mouthful of spiritual energy and the crystal sword appeared. The flying sword cut into the bottom right corner of the door and carved out a hole. Wang Lin held his breath. His whole body was tense as he used the attraction force technique to bring the black bag of holding out from the hole. He didn't look at it as he held it against his chest and immediately backed up. His hand moved very fast to quickly return the spirit core to the door. In the blink of an eye, the door returned to normal. However, there was a not so noticeable hole at the bottom right corner. Wang Lin didn't pause for a moment before quickly exiting the temple. As soon as he came out, he saw the red-faced elder cultivating outside. The red-faced elder looked at Wang Lin and said, with a deep tone, "You stayed inside for 7 days. Did you comprehend it?" Wang Lin shook his head and bitterly smiled. The divine path is simply too strange. I kept on forgetting what I had read and was unable to comprehend it. Senior, I want to ask what exactly is in those stone rooms sealed by the water mirror doors. Can you tell me? The red-faced old man looked at Wang Lin and said, "All of the ancestors of the war god shrine are placed in a stone room after they die." Wang Lin's expression remained the same, but his heart trembled. He was now sure that his guess was correct. He clasped his hands and said, "Junior will no longer bother you anymore. Goodbye." The red-faced old man nodded and walked into the temple. The moment the red-faced old man walked into the water mirror door, Wang Lin quickly flew out of the mountain. In the blink of an eye, he left the Hofen Union's mountain and saw the old man sitting on top of a cloud. He opened his eyes as Wang Lin got close and snorted. "If you had stayed in there any longer, I would have gone inside to look for you." Without a word, Wang Lin flew away. The old man moved his body and the clouds quickly dispersed, revealing the gourd underneath him. He quickly followed behind Wang Lin. Wang Lin stepped onto the gourd and disappeared into the sky along with the old man. The gourd's speed was very fast. It was even faster than Wang Lin's earth escape technique. They could slowly see the border of Xuanwu and Hufen coming into sight. Along the way, the two of them didn't say a single word to each other. Wang Lin could feel the bag of holding in his clothes. but he didn't check what was inside it, and he didn't use his divine sense to probe it. After all, the old man was right next to him. If he were to make any unusual movements, there would likely be more problems. It didn't take long for the gourd to reach the border of Xuanwu and cross into Hofen. One day later, they arrived at the border of the Sea of Devils. The Sea of Devils was completely covered by thick layers of rolling fog. One could sometimes see spirit beasts appearing and disappearing in the fog. Outside the Sea of Devils, the old man slapped the gourd, causing it to shrink. It landed in his hand. Wang Lin jumped off the gourd and landed on the ground. The old man put the gourd away and said, "We are going to wait here for a few days for one more person. Once that person is here, the three of us will go together." With that, he sat down in the lotus position and closed his eyes. Wang Lin stared at the Sea of Devils. The layer of fog rolled before him and sent out waves of cold energy. He pondered for a bit before sitting down to cultivate. Not much time had passed before Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. A mysterious scene occurred above the Sea of Devils. 8 rays of purple light suddenly appeared out of thin air. Each ray of light condensed into a wooden pillar, making 8 pillars in total. The pillars intersected to form a circular formation. The spiritual energy fluctuations coming from it were so powerful that all of the fog around it was pushed away, revealing the whirlpool underneath. There were many strange symbols and images carved onto the 8 wooden pillars, making them a very shocking sight. There were interconnecting rays of light that formed rings inside the 8 wooden pillars. Looking closely, there was total of rings. The old man opened his eyes, let out a snort, and said, "That is a special teleportation formation from the corpse sect. I wonder what made those freaks have the guts to come here." Wang Lin was very familiar with the corpse sect. Even this formation looked familiar. It was the same formation he had seen back in Zhao, only it was many times bigger. At this moment, the rings of light began to shine one after another until all rings were shining brightly. More than dark figures appeared. Although their spiritual energy was a bit unstable, their eyes all contained a ghostly light. Every single one of them was at least at the late stage of core formation, with 5 of them having reached the nascent soul stage. Aside from the 5 people at the nascent soul stage, everyone else had a black coffin floating behind them. Zhao Chuanliang was among the 5 nascent soul cultivators. He stood in the center of the formation as his gaze stopped on the old man for a while before moving on to Wang Lin. He hesitated for a bit before reaching out with his hand. It turned into a giant black cloud of smoke that reached toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin sneered. Instead of dodging, he continued to sit there as if nothing was happening. As the black smoke closed in on Wang Lin, he could feel the cold air coming from it. Just as it was about to touch Wang Lin, the old man's face darkened and he waved his right hand. The black smoke disappeared without a trace. The last day of June, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. A sweep of the like button for the VIDEO each month. The June ticket expires tonight at 12. Wang Lin didn't really want to have a life and death battle with these 4 generals. After feeling their auras, he had come here for a deal, not a battle. However, they were aggressive and wouldn't meet him, resulting in the battle from before. Seeing the vermilion bird appear, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand loosened. The bow and arrow dissipated into specks of golden light. Although the bow had disappeared, if Wang Lin needed it, he could instantly summon it again. He was not afraid of the 4 generals launching a sneak attack. Wang Lin clasped his hands at the vermilion bird. This vermilion bird was also an old man, and was extremely similar to the first generation vermilion bird in the Fallen Land. Wang Lin slowly opened his mouth and calmly said, "No need to call me fellow celestial. Junior Wang Lin greets the first generation vermilion bird." The vermilion bird wearing red revealed a complicated expression as he looked at Wang Lin and silently pondered. Wang Lin calmly said, "I am confused about one thing. Senior and the one in the Fallen Land, what relation do you two have?" "The one in the Fallen Land is my original body. During the Big War, I was the only one of the 4 generals who left my original body outside. The one you see now is my avatar, but it has been far too long. There is no avatar or original body anymore. You can think of both as me or 2 different mes. I have almost no control over my original body. I can only communicate with him to know what is happening and what he is thinking, but I hold no control over his thoughts and actions. He is very tired. He wants to return to his hometown, but I want to look for the celestial sovereign." The vermilion bird old man shook his head and sighed. The white tiger old man, whose eyes were filled with fear, suddenly said, "Why is the Li Guang bow in your hands?" "This is my private matter, you don't need to know." Wang Lin coldly looked at the white tiger general, and then his gaze landed back on the vermilion bird. The white tiger general's face twitched, but he didn't speak again. "I can ignore the matter at the fallen land. Today I can to make a deal with Senior," Wang Lin said calmly. "The ancient celestial realm, or the so-called core of the seven-colored celestial sovereign S-cave, contains injured disciples of the Seven Tao sect. They are the so-called celestials, the cultivators of the ancient celestial realm. If I gave it my all, what chances do you think I would have of killing everyone here before they could heal and make this ancient celestial realm a dead realm?" Wang Lin's words were calm, but they caused the four generals to frown. If it was without the Li Guang bow, the four generals wouldn't believe Wang Lin, but after seeing the bow and arrow, an invisible pressure appeared on their hearts. The Li Guang bow is an extremely powerful weapon from the immortal astral continent. The bow is not easy to use. I don't know where you got that drop of celestial blood, but even if you can use the bow with that blood, it will confuse the celestial energy inside that drop of blood each time you draw it. You read not a celestial, so you can replenish the force inside that drop of blood. How many shots can you fire? The one to speak wasn't the vermilion bird, but the azure dragon. As he looked at Wang Lin, his eyes shined brightly. "I only need 3 arrows to destroy this place. Even though there are countless statues behind you, and there is even that strange temple in the deepest part. If I'm not mistaken, that temple is the exit to this cave, which should be completely sealed and no one can open it. There are many strange creatures there, and it is likely the most powerful place in the ancient celestial realm. I can do it, you all understand." Wang Lin's gaze swept past the four generals and then looked into the distance. When he first entered the ancient celestial realm, not only did his divine sense notice the four generals, he also faintly sensed the temple in the deepest part of the ancient celestial realm. The aura that temple gave off was very strong. The black tortoise, who hadn't spoke at all, pondered for a while and then said with a hoarse voice, "What deal? I don't care about this whole place being a cave, nor about the plans you all have. I only know that I was born in the inner realm, and the inner realm is having a war with the outer realm. The inner realm lacks the power to confront the outer realm, and even if I have the Li Guang bow, I can kill all the outer realm cultivators. You are the ancient celestials of the ancient celestial realm. I want you all to leave this place, slaughter your way to the outer realm, and end the war." Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he spoke. The vermilion bird pondered a bit, and softly said, "The outer realm also has the ancient celestial realm. There are members of the Seven Tao sect there that follow the celestial imperial concubines, and they aren't as injured. The reason they haven't come out these years is because although the ancient celestial realm is split in two, there is still a deep connection between them. If we were to open the door to leave the ancient celestial realm, they would be able to come out as well. At that time, the war between the inner and outer realms would intensify. It could even destroy this cave." Wang Lin waved his sleeves and coldly said, "They won't be able to come out from the outer realm's ancient celestial realm." With this, all four generals looked toward Wang Lin. The azure dragon general quickly said, "Earlier, someone from the lower realm called us and asked for help against the outer realm invasion. I sent out a celestial treasure to be integrated into the realm sealing formation. It should allow the formation to hold for 100 years and buy time for us to finish healing. Although the effect is limited, it will be very difficult for lower realm cultivators to open the formation without someone from the immortal astral continent making a move. I don't know if he did it, but now more than 90 years have passed and 3 years remain. These 3 years are the most important period. Once these 3 years pass, our injuries will completely recover." According to their original plan, even if Wang Lin hadn't offered this deal, they would still leave in 3 years and battle against their fellow sect members from the outer realm. They would then look for the celestial sovereign. However, the lower realm cultivators were mere ants in their eyes. When they left, they wouldn't care about the battle between the inner and outer realms. As for how much life would be lost, they didn't care. As long as they could find the celestial sovereign, as long as the celestial sovereign's cultivation recovered, they could just destroy all life in the cave. Then they would activate the heavenly Tao, and after tens of thousands of years, everything would return to as it was. However, Wang Lin had found them, and was threatening to destroy the ancient celestial realm with his power to offer a deal. This made them consider it carefully. 3 years. I can buy 3 years of time for you. No one will come here and disturb your healing. Wang Lin's voice was flat as he spoke. The 4 generals silently pondered. Wang Lin had promised to destroy the Outer Realm's ancient celestial realm and promised to protect them for 3 years. However, the more Wang Lin agreed, the more they felt like Wang Lin had another plan in mind. The 4 were confused about Wang Lin's plans. The vermilion bird looked at Wang Lin and asked, "What do you want out of this deal?" "I want the Outer Realm extinguished. I want it so that no inner realm cultivator will die once you leave. I want you all to promise me that once you find the 7-colored celestial sovereign, you allow me to take all living things out of this world and give them freedom so they don't have to live in this cave. So they can see the real sky. The final request is that once this over, I want to go to the immortal astral continent. On the immortal astral continent, you will give me the resources I need." Wang Lin patted his forehead with his right hand. A thread of smoke flew out and condensed into a willow leaf in his palm. "If you agree, then send out your divine senses and form a Tao vow. If you break the vow, you will die. If you don't agree, then I'll take out the Li Guangbo and destroy this ancient celestial realm." Wang Lin's words were tough. He wasn't giving the 4 generals any chance to hesitate. The 4 silently pondered and looked at each other. They began to hesitate. They were unable to immediately agree to Wang Lin's decision. The 3rd and 4th conditions were extremely difficult. "I'll give you all 1 day's time." Wang Lin turned and walked away. He stopped 10,000 feet away, sat down on the broken earth, and closed his eyes. He ignored their debates. In truth, Wang Lin still had another purpose, and that was his real goal. Aside from resolving the war between the inner and outer realms, the reason he was willing to buy them 3 years of time, the reason why he wanted these 7 Tao sect people to leave, was for them to find the celestial sovereign. Wang Lin had a lot of speculations about this mysterious celestial sovereign, but no evidence. He wasn't sure what relation the 7-colored Taoist had with the celestial sovereign. There was also that old ghost John. There was a mystery here, and the mystery pointed at the celestial sovereign. From various clues, there is a lot to be taken from the war between the inner and outer realms. The group around the sovereign and the celestial imperial concubines lived in the outer realm. The group around the Lord of the Sealed Realm lived in the inner realm. The 7-colored Taoist is the head of the outer realm. As for old Ghost John, he is someone from the inner realm. The many wars over the countless years seem like they were trying to prove something they are all looking for. Something just finding it requires some extraordinary means, and as a result, these wars continue to happen. If my guess is correct, then what are they searching for is the heavenly Tao. Wang Lin pondered. Perhaps once these people leave, the veil will be lifted. This is all already a mess, so let's make it messier. Perhaps I can achieve my goal in this mess. In dreams, Leo sees his video standing in 3rd place on the popular charts. Hoping to garner more fan support and looking for help from you all to climb even higher in the rankings this month. After 1 day, Wang Lin left the ancient celestial realm with the vow from the 4 generals. The ancient celestial realm could only be entered or exited through the rift created by divine retribution. This rift was part of the seal on the ancient celestial realm, and anyone with the bloodline from the immortal astral continent would find it difficult to leave through the rift unless everyone worked together to send one person out, like what they did with the Lord of the Sealed Realm. Perhaps the heaven-defying bead was the most important thing here. Before entering the ancient celestial realm, Wang Lin had a lot of speculations, but now, upon leaving, he understood a lot. After stepping out from the rift, Wang Lin looked back at it and watched it slowly close before letting out a sigh. Looking at the space before him, for the first time, this space seemed to be ethereal, as if it didn't exist. Wang Lin could not tell others that the inner and outer realms were only part of a cave. Even if he told people, very few would believe him, and those that did would only go crazy. Looking at this star system, Wang Lin silently pondered. Outside planet Suzaku, the divine retribution clouds had long disappeared. The thousands of cultivators, including Situ Nan and company, were still waiting for Wang Lin's return. When they saw Wang Lin's figure appear, cheers began to echo. The eyes of the thousands of cultivators had feverish gazes as they called Wang Lin's name and called out Lord of the Sealed Realm. Listening to their words, Wang Lin silently pondered even more. He vaguely felt confused. Lord of the Sealed Realm, the previous Lord of the Celestial Realm, was only a pawn of the Celestial Sovereign. He was not a person from the inner realm, he came from the immortal astral continent. He had the bloodline of a celestial. He didn't come to the inner realm to help, but to set up plan all for the sake of the Celestial Sovereign. He was an inflexible person. Perhaps over the years he felt mercy toward the people here, and all those things happened. However, at the end of the day, he didn't belong here. He was an outsider. The waves of cheers felt like they were really far from Wang Lin. After understanding everything, Wang Lin felt confused about the title of Lord of the Sealed Realm. His silent pondering was gradually noticed by the thousands of cultivators. Their cries slowly dissipated and their gazes locked onto Wang Lin as he walked over. Looking at the faces before him, his heart was filled with bitterness. He wanted to tell them, all of us are just living in a cave. The sky we see is not the real sky. The earth we see is not the real earth. Out battles against the outer realm were only a game to others. Even the spells and Tao we cultivate are all false. Everything is false. Nothing is real. The only thing that was real was the blood, the pain, and all the corpses piled up over the countless years. But how could he say it? There was no way for him to tell these fanatical fellow cultivators the cruel truth. At this moment, Wang Lin suddenly thought of Taoist scattered spirit from the Million Worlds. He suddenly felt a connection with Taoist scattered spirit as their experiences were very similar. However, Taoist scattered spirit was more fortunate than Wang Lin, because he believed he had come to the real world and left the fake world. Wang Lin's silence and confusion were noticed by Situnan, which made him confused. He didn't understand what Wang Lin had encountered inside the rift. He was so high-spirited when he entered, but now he was depressed. Wang Lin silently walked forward and arrived next to Situnan. His confused eyes were also tired, and he softly said, "Situ, do you have wine? I want to get drunk again one last time." "I do." Situnan didn't ask why, and instead nodded. "If you want to become drunk, then I'll accompany you." On a no-name mountain on planet Suzaku, Wang Lin and Situnan sat down. They watched the sky darken and silently drank wine. No one came to disturb the two of them. The thousands of cultivators sat down on the planet and cultivated. They were waiting for Wang Lin to descend from the mountain. They were waiting for Wang Lin to take them to Al-Heaven, to save Al-Heaven and protect the inner realm. Situ, why do people live? As Wang Lin sipped wine, the confusion in his eyes became even stronger. In order to breath, Situ silently pondered and put down the wine jug in his hand. He looked at Wang Lin's appearance and frowned. He then asked, "What was that rift?" Wang Lin shook his head and revealed a bitter smile. He picked up the wine and drank another big gulp. "Do you remember how we got drunk many years ago?" Wang Lin looked at Situnan and recalled the past. "That time I got drunk when I was in confusion. I didn't want to cultivate. I didn't know why I cultivated. Cultivation brought no happiness. There was only tiredness and endless life and death crises. I had killed a lot of people. I have killed a lot." Wang Lin began to laugh as he drank. "That time, I told you I didn't understand why people cultivated. For longevity. But what's the point of living a long time? All you get is to watch people around you grow old, watch lovers die, watch loved ones scatter, watch friends close their eyes. In the end, the only thing that remains is an indifferent heart. With a tired body, even if such a life lasts for a long time, so what? This longevity. Situ, you brought me into the cultivator world. Tell me, is this longevity?" Wang Lin drank all the wine and threw the wine jug to the side. "Cultivators don't need to cut off their emotions. When we were on planet Suzaku, you just started cultivating. You were reluctant to let your parents go, reluctant to cut off your earthly attachments. You didn't want to cut them off. This was how I answered you. Since you can cut it and don't want to cut it, you will naturally feel pain. If you died, then it wouldn't have mattered, but you didn't die. You cultivated for more than 2,000 years and reached this cultivation level. This is why you reconfused. Why you ask me what longevity is. Longevity, there is no longevity in this life. The so-called longevity is to allow yourself to live longer, allow yourself to become stronger. Allow yourself to become free so one can order you around. We are all damn afraid of death. We don't want to die, so we pursue longevity. This old man doesn't believe you don't understand this. Situnan drank an entire jug of wine and threw it to the side before he shouted at Wang Lin, "Look at yourself. What did you see inside that rift? Tell this old man." "Peak, I didn't reach the peak. Even if I reach the peak, so what? I understand, but I am not the same as you. I never wanted to cultivate. When I was young, I did it for my parents so they wouldn't be disappointed in me. I clenched my teeth and went to the Heng Yu sect. But the result? Fate made a fool out of us. I cultivated for my parents, but that eventually led to their deaths. After that, I cultivated for revenge. I became a demon and killed the entire Tang family. Blood flowed like a river. After getting my revenge, I was confused. I watched the Niu grow up and watched his parents die. I watched his entire life. I didn't know what I should do. I didn't know where my path was. It wasn't until Wan Er died that I began to cultivate in order to revive her. I wanted to become stronger and survive. I wasn't willing to die before Wan Er woke up. I wanted to take her back from fate. Then I became the Lord of the Sealed Realm. I became famous through the battle between the inner realm and the outer realm. I didn't want any of this. It's not what I want. I didn't want to become the Lord of the Sealed Realm. I still don't. Wang Lin looked at Situ and picked up a wine jug. He drank half of the jug and allowed the wine to flow from the corner of his mouth. "You." Situ Nan looked at Wang Lin and saw the confusion in his eyes. He was unable to say a word. He let out a sigh and began to drink in anger. "Since you aren't willing to tell this old man what you saw inside that rift, then this old man won't ask, okay?" The two of them became silent and both continued to drink wine until a glimpse of light appeared in the horizon, signaling the sunrise. Wang Lin softly said, "That rift led to the ancient celestial realm." Situ Nan was startled. Then he suddenly stood up and looked up at the sky. It was as if his gaze was going to pierce the sky and see the rift that had appeared before. Ancient celestial realm. That place is actually the legendary ancient celestial realm. There are real celestials there. Did you see a celestial? Situ Nan gasped and shock filled his eyes. "I saw them, and I killed a celestial." Wang Lin revealed a bitter expression and took a gulp of wine. Situ Nan was startled and stared at Wang Lin. After a long time he blinked and smiled bitterly. "Then what? With your personality you wouldn't just leave after killing them. Could it be that you searched this celestial memory?" Wang Lin silently pondered and his eyes revealed a complicated gaze. He drank all the wine in the jug in his hand and threw it to the side before looking up at Situ Nan. "I searched the memory of the celestial and found out a secret about the existence of the inner and outer realms." "Situ, if I told you that the inner and outer realms are both fake, that they read just an illusion, would you believe it? If I told you that you and me, all the fellow cultivators we know, the world we grew up in are just in a cave, would you believe it? If I said that the Tao we cultivate are all designated by others, would you believe it? If I said that the world we live in is just a cave, the cave of an ancient celestial sovereign, or a realm he opened to collect Joss flames, would you believe it?" "What are you talking about?" Situ Nan subconsciously let go of the wine jug in his hand and it fell to the ground. "From yesterday until now, Leo has only slept for 2 hours. Can't take it anymore. Today there's only the first watch. Leo wants to catch up on sleep. After the salon ends, the missing chapters will be compensated." Wang Lin smiled bitterly and looked at the startled Situ Nan. He then picked up a wine jug from the ground and took a big sip. "This is what I learned from the memory of that celestial the Lord of the Sealed Realm. Not me, but the previous one. He came from the ancient celestial realm. He doesn't belong here. And those celestial imperial concubines I met in the ancient star system and the mysterious 7-colored Taoist. These people all came from the so-called immortal astral continent. That continent is tens of thousands times bigger than the inner and outer realms combined. That is their hometown. We are merely in a cave that belongs to the sect master of the 7 Tao sect, the 7-colored celestial sovereign. The sky we see is the ceiling of the cave. The earth we see is the ground of the cave. The so-called inner and outer realms are merely the inner and outer parts of this cave. Would you believe all of this? Then what if I told you that even the Tao we cultivate, the heavenly Tao, is something the 7-colored celestial sovereign stole and raised here? It is because of the heavenly Tao he is raising that life appeared, that you and I came to be. Would you believe all this? If there was no heavenly Tao, if the celestial sovereign hadn't stolen it, then no life would be appeared in this cave. It is just a cave. When you know all of this, would you become confused? Would you not wonder what we live for? Why do we exist, and what do we exist for? And then there is the divine retribution. The heavenly Tao is being raised by the celestial sovereign, and all living things here exist because of the heavenly Tao. He created divine retribution so that it could kill anyone who tried to change the plans of the heavenly Tao. What is a heaven-defying cultivator? This is a heaven-defying cultivator, like how a mortal farmer plans everything out and then plants their crops. There will always be things that don't grow to your intent, so you change it. However, over time, tenacious weeds pop up among these crops. They grow too fast and they can be changed. They will try to destroy the plans. They are the heaven-defying cultivators. The role of the divine retribution is to kill the weeds that arbitrarily appeared. I am one of those weeds, except the divine retribution can destroy me, and was destroyed by me. I destroyed the divine retribution and retrieved my own fate. I also learned the secret of this world since you asked. I will tell you all of this, but will you believe it? Situnan pondered, in a daze. After a long time, he sat down and continued to drink wine, but he didn't say a word. There was struggle in his eyes. He didn't believe it, but also believed it. If it was anyone else, even if it was his teacher, Wang Lin, he wouldn't believe it. It was simply unthinkable, and no one would choose to believe it. However, the person who said it was Wang Lin, his brother. He understood Wang Lin. He basically watched Wang Lin grow up. How could he not believe Wang Lin? Everything is just a cave. Then what is the battle between the inner and outer realms? Situnan subconsciously raised his head and looked at the sky. Fear slowly appeared in his eyes. He seldom felt fear, but when he heard Wang Lin's terrifying words, fear appeared in his mind. He feared that if this was all true, then what did he count as? Was his happiness true happiness? He was just a puppet doing a serious performance set up by the heavens. Being observed and played with by a mysterious existence, it was like when he looked at the ants on the earth, watching the ants struggle and survive. Wang Lin silently pondered for a moment and softly said, I have my guesses about the war between the inner and outer realms, but I don't fully understand it. However, I have a plan, and 3 years from now, I'll know everything about this war. Cave Situnan revealed a bitter smile and lowered his head. He looked at the wine jug in his hand and began to murmur. We watch the sky and want to know what is behind the sky. When we have a high enough cultivation level to go past the sky and enter space, we think space is the end. But we don't expect space to be inside a cave. Wang Lin. If what you say is true, what do you want to do? I think you should already have an answer. Wang Lin had been drinking wine, but he didn't feel drunk. The wine was like life and turned spicy in his mouth. More than 2,000 years of his past continued to replay in his mind. My cultivation had 3 stages. The first stage was to help others. The second stage was confusion and irritation. I yearned a mortal life. I originally thought I would spend the rest of my life in the second stage until I had a high enough cultivation level to awaken Wan Er. Then we would pass the remaining years together and close our eyes together. Right now, the third stage has appeared. Wang Lin put down the wine jug and stood up, allowing the mountain wind to blow at his white hair. As he looked at the sky, the confusion in his eyes was replaced with a determined and unyielding gaze. I have cultivated for my entire life, but I never recognized it in my heart. But today I, Wang Lin, will enter the third stage of my cultivation on planet Suzaku that gave birth to me. I want to cultivate. Situ. Back then I grew tired of cultivation, but after today, that thought will never exist again in my heart. I want to cultivate. I want to become stronger. I want to leave this world. I want to see if the people of the immortal astral continent really have 3 heads and 6 arms. Even if I die and turn to dust, so what? Wang Lin waved his right hand. He then leaned back and drank half a jug of wine. Wang Lin wiped the corner of his mouth and laughed. I, Wang Lin, have lacked one word in my life. This word is responsibility. I lack responsibility. I can support the sky myself. The title of Lord of the Sealed Realm belongs to me, but it was given to me by others because I did a few things, and because the inner realm means a Lord of the Sealed Realm. But I am really not qualified to be called Lord of the Sealed Realm. I was originally tired of cultivation. I had been cultivating for others, so how could I bear the honor of Lord of the Sealed Realm? The me from before couldn't carry the responsibility at all. Before, I was even childish enough to really think I was the Lord of the Sealed Realm. I fought with my life against the outer realm for my hometown. For the inner realm, I thought doing this meant I was the lord of the sealed realm. It never occurred to me that many people were doing the same. Almost all the inner realm cultivator were doing this. I merely had a higher cultivation level, so I managed to reach today. However, what do I count as? Why should I hold the respect of the inner realm? What we should respect are the fellow cultivators that died, those that bled for the inner realm and died. I had never thought about those things, but today, I thought about them. I understand the responsibility of this title. It is not just to resist the invasion of the outer realm, but to take the cultivators here out of this world, out of this cave. To have the determination to destroy any enemy that gets in the way. Before, I didn't have this determination and responsibility, but after today, I will. This perhaps is my Tao. My final destination. Wang Lin drank the rest of the wine and threw the wine jug off the mountain. It flew off in an arc and disappeared from Wang Lin's eyes. At this moment, the sky dims. The sun sets in the west and rises in the east. Turn around to see Mount Nan, the sound of the scattering birds echoing. The world of mortals cut off by the clouds. I am going to kill the celestial sovereign. If I kill him, I can get our life back. Kill him and the clouds will open. But before that, Situ, I am going to guard the border for 3 years. Wang Lin waved his sleeves and stepped toward the sky. He moved like a ray of light and appeared in the sky. Wang Lin looked down on the earth, and the first thing he saw was his statue that pierced the sky. The statue of him held up the axe and glared at the sky. For the first time, Wang Lin felt the unspeakable momentum from the statue. This momentum would never look back, and anything that tried to block it would be blown away. It was a shocking momentum that no one could stop. This momentum was the lord of the sealed realm that understood commitment and responsibility. One who had questioned themselves and understood the might of the lord of the sealed realm. If the heavens stood in the way, the heavens could break. If the earth stood in the way, the earth could collapse. Any enemy would be destroyed. For the first time, Wang Lin saw the familiar aura he saw from Taoist scattered spirit on the statue. The spirit and determination Taoist scattered spirit held. With one step, Wang Lin arrived on top of his own statue. He stood there, facing the wind, facing the red sunset as he looked at the world. Fellow cultivators on planet Suzaku, are you all willing to follow me to all heaven and battle the outer realm cultivators? Wang Lin's mighty voice turned into a monstrous wave that echoed across planet Suzaku, and the cultivators that were waiting for Wang Lin all opened their eyes. Their bright eyes revealed the same determination. We are willing to follow. Roars came from countless locations on the planet, forming a powerful shockwave. At the same time, rays of light flew up from the earth toward Wang Lin's statue. Those rays of light contained cultivators filled with killing intent. They had been humiliated for so many years. They had lost countless friends, and those that survived were willing to give it their all. They only needed one voice, and they would be willing to fight with everything, even if it meant giving up their lives. Warriors will be born when a kingdom was about to perish. This is a saying from old times, and the inner realm was experiencing this. Aimlessly wishing for the like button for the video. As Wang Lin stood above the statue, his gaze swept across the world. He saw the familiar faces within the rays of light that flew at him. He saw the determination on those familiar faces, felt their determination to give up their lives in their roars. There were people Wang Lin were familiar with, including his disciple 13, his servant Big Head, his brother Situ, his senior South Cloud, and many other people he knew. The gazes of these thousands of cultivators all gathered as if some kind of hot blood connected them. This sense of hot blood would not dissipate. At most, it would settle as the years passed. However, at the moment of crisis, this sense of hot blood would erupt. Come with me and take back the mountains and rivers of the inner realm. Wang Lin waved his sleeve and stepped off from the head of the statue. His robe was as white as snow and fluttered with his white hair. Under the sun, they gave off a dazzling glow. Inside the light, Wang Lin's body turned into a ray of light, creating a loud howl, and flew toward space. Behind him, Situ Nan, Master South Cloud, and the others followed closely. The howls from them flying fused with his. After them, the thousands of cultivators all used various spells to fly to follow after Wang Lin. This was a spectacular scene. It was as if countless meteors were flying off the planet. They carried with them the aura of defying the heavens, the domineering will to destroy the heavens and the pride to never back down. It was as if with Wang Lin leading them, They could break through the sky and break free from this cage-like world, break this falsehood, and go to the endless world beyond. Wang Lin was ahead, opening the way. His divine sense spread out, and along with the coldness in his eyes, there was a monstrous killing intent. He was going to kill every invading cultivator. He was going to create a bloodbath. He was going to kill until the world changed colors. This killing intent erupted from his body. It had been a long time since he had killing intent this strong. He still remembered the peak of killing intent in his life. It was when he slaughtered the entire Teng family on planet Suzaku more than 2,000 years ago. Today, more than 2,000 years later, this killing intent appeared once more. This time he was doing it for himself, but even more so for the inner realm. He wasn't a hero, and he didn't want to be a hero. He was just an ordinary cultivator. He just happened to be a cultivator who got caught up in this time of war. He understood what responsibility meant. He understood he had responsibilities. He understood the meaning of the title Lord of the Sealed Realm. He didn't want to be the Lord of the Sealed Realm. He wanted to be himself. He wanted to break open this world and walk out of this cave. Anyone who stopped him would have to bear his monstrous slaughter and anger. If the heavens stopped him, he would destroy the heavens. If the earth blocked him, he would destroy the earth. If people blocked him, he would kill them all. He had to have the determination to break out of this cave. Resolving the war between the two realms was merely the first step, but if he couldn't get past the first step, there was no need to talk about walking out of this cave. As Wang Lin flew forward, thousands of cultivators followed. As the group of people flew through space, they created a shocking sound wave that rumbled loudly and shook the star system. Large amounts of outer realm cultivators had died to Wang Lin's arrow before, but some still remained. At this moment, Wang Lin's divine sense covered the entire brilliant void. Those remaining outer realm cultivators had no place to hide in Wang Lin's eyes. As monstrous rumbles echoed, there were dozens of outer realm cultivators several million kilometers ahead. They each had a mark between their eyebrows, and they were moving in panic. They were going to Alheaven, because most of the outer realm cultivator who had entered the inner realm were at Alheaven. The other star systems only had a few people present. Before those dozens of cultivators could fly far, they heard the howling from behind them. Feeling shocked, they escaped even faster. One of the young cultivators subconsciously looked back. He saw a white shadow closing in, and in a flash, the white shadow was in his vision. The young man only saw the white shadow flash by before his vision blurred and fell into darkness. When he could see again, he saw the world spinning, and then saw his group flying away. He saw that the last person in the group had no head. He was very familiar with the body without a head. In an instant, his eyes were filled with disbelief and his vision collapsed. The spinning world turned dark. The moment it all went dark, he saw one last thing, a young man wearing a white robe and with white hair withdrawing his blade-like hand before charging forward. Those dozens of cultivators hadn't noticed at all that someone from their group was already dead. Wang Lin walked forward and waved his right hand. A thunderous rumble echoed as 4 outer realm cultivators screamed miserably and their heads flew off. Their blood splattered on the bodies and faces of the remaining outer realm cultivators. It wasn't until now that the remaining outer realm cultivators noticed and looked back in terror. Wang Lin turned into a ray of white light and moved past those cultivators. In less than 3 seconds, he walked away from this group of cultivators that had already collapsed into piles of flesh and blood. Not a drop of blood had landed on his white robe, and his expression didn't change as he moved forward. What followed him were several dozen heads that still contained the horror they felt before they died. These heads are far from enough. Wang Lin remained calm and rushed forward. Shortly after, the thousands of cultivators arrived. They saw the bloody remains of the corpses floating there and sensed the lingering killing intent. Wang Lin didn't stop moving. No outer realm cultivator he found in the brilliant void could escape death. A lot of people only realized they were dead after their heads had been cut off and landed in Wang Lin's hand. Out of everyone in this world, although Wang Lin couldn't be considered the person that had killed the most, he had killed quite a bit. Not even he could clearly remember how many he had killed. To live in such a troubled world, in a cruel cultivation world that followed the law of the jungle, if he didn't want to be killed, he had to kill. Deep inside the brilliant void, 2 outer realm cultivators were anxiously escaping. They looked very similar. They were twin cultivators. something rarely seen in the cultivation world. These two had a bit of fame in the ancient star system. The two always attacked at the same time and knew each other very well. Although they were only at the second heaven S blight, even third heaven S blight cultivators would have to retreat in a sorry state after facing against them. These two brothers were very cruel, and after entering the inner realm they killed a lot of inner realm cultivators. These two brothers had a hobby. They liked to abuse and kill people with lower cultivation level than them. However, at this moment, these two brothers were escaping like homeless dogs. They felt a terrifying aura locked onto them from the distance. No matter how they tried to hide, they weren't able to escape from this pressure. The pressure gradually became a blade of death that hung above their heads and could fall at any moment to take their life. Under this pressure, the two almost went crazy. Their eyes were bloodshot as they escaped like crazy. However, just as they started to use their full force to escape, a white figure that represented death appeared behind them. This figure slowly walked toward them. His pace wasn't too fast, but in truth, he was faster than lightning. With one step, he arrived next to one person. This figure was Wang Lin, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He raised his right hand and swept toward one person who was filled with despair. "Big brother!" The other person let out a miserable roar. He actually gave up escaping and charged at Wang Lin. These two brothers had lost their parents back when they were still children and Theb were raised by wolves. They were always thinking the same thing and almost never left each other's side. Later, they were taken in by a family of wolf cultivators and were granted their marks. In the past, only they could cruelly abuse and kill others, but today they became Wang Lin's prey. Just as the roar echoed, a head flew off and blood sprayed everything. After the blood sprayed out, a head flew into the air. "Your brotherly love is respectable, but since you killed my inner realm cultivators, you must die." Wang Lin walked forward and two more fierce heads were added to the hundreds of heads behind him. Wang Lin swept across the brilliant void. When he finished, none of the remaining outer realm cultivators were left alive. The places he went were bloody. The places he passed meant slaughter. The hundreds of heads behind him had their origin souls sealed. It was as if they had sunk into hell and were unable to break free. They could only follow Wang Lin forward. After walking out from the brilliant void and entering the edge of the summoned river, Wang Lin slowly said, "Too quiet." Wishing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. The moment Wang Lin spoke, the hundreds of heads behind him that had dim gazes suddenly became bright. At the same time, miserable screams began to echo. These miserable screams revealed unspeakable pain. The screams would scare the wits out of those who were timid. Even the brave would be shocked and their faces would turn pale. It was impossible to imagine what kind of pain could cause such miserable screams. As the hundreds of heads screamed, black blood flowed out from their orifices. As the black blood flowed out, a powerful smell of blood spread out. These heads had the origin soul and souls of their owners sealed inside. Their bodies had died, but not their head. They were suffering a reincarnation cycle formed by karma, life and death, and true and false. Their heads contained Wang Lin's three ethereal essences. With these essences, it was like they were in a dream that could be real or fake, where they were suffering many miserable deaths. Wang Lin had sealed them with his ethereal essences so they would suffer endless pain. This wasn't because Wang Lin wanted to torture them. This was just the first step of his slaughter. This beginning involved a formation. This was a formation he had comprehended after gaining enlightenment in the three ethereal essences. He had never used it before. This was the first time. This formation was an essence formation. The name was very simple. It was called Life and Death, True and False, Karma Formation. This scene was extremely tragic. Only monstrous hatred could cause someone to do this. Although Wang Lin hated the outer realm, his hatred wasn't this strong. However, after he learned the truth about the world being a cave, there had been a surging resentment raging in his mind. This resentment was the source of his slaughter. This resentment was his hatred of heaven and the celestial sovereign who controlled fate. The outer realm cultivators just happened to be invading at this time, so they had to suffer his anger. Too many people have already died in this battle, so I, Wang Lin, do not care if I kill more. Since you all want to kill for a certain purpose, Then I, Wang Lin, will help you. I want to see what you all looking for. The inner realm has lost too much. Now it's the outer realm's turn. The endless miserable screams echoed in Wang Lin's ears. His expression remained calm as he stepped toward the summoned river. The summoned river had fallen to the outer realm twice. Many cultivators from the outer realm were stationed here. The cultivators here were extremely cruel. They had stolen a large amount of resources, and large amounts of female cultivators were taken as their cultivation furnaces. The blood of countless cultivators was scattered across this star system. Just as Wang Lin entered the summoned river, a dense smell of blood filled his nose. The killing intent in his eyes became even stronger. This sixth essence, the slaughter essence, erupted from his body. Countless real and illusory red snowflakes appeared around Wang Lin. These red snowflakes surrounded the area, and as Wang Lin moved forward, crackling sounds echoed. The space behind him was frozen and started giving off a red glow. Then a monstrous chill began to spread. Wang Lin's eyes faintly turned red. His divine sense spread out and surrounded the entire summoned river. Just as his divine sense covered all of the summoned river, the shocking aura of a third-step cultivator came from the depths of summoned river. This aura gave off a feeling of shock. It seemed to have been caught off guard by Wang Lin's divine sense. If it was before the dream Tao, Wang Lin might have frowned, but now he wouldn't even bother looking that person's way. This aura belonged to a late-stage spirit void cultivator, but Wang Lin would even dare to kill arcane void cultivators, so he didn't need to take a mere spirit void cultivator seriously. With a step forward, Wang Lin ignored the aura of the third-step cultivator and arrived outside a planet. This planet contained thousands of outer realm cultivators. These cultivators were mostly cultivating with their eyes closed. Some of them were having fun or forcing themselves on cultivation furnaces. Some were laughing wildly while killing mortals, and others were devouring the cultivation of captured inner realm cultivators. Wang Lin saw all these things vividly as his divine sense spread by. His eyes shined and looked extremely fierce when mixed with the red light in his eyes. With the hundreds of heads behind him, Wang Lin looked like a demon that had just walked straight out of the underworld. These people deserve to die. Wang Lin waved his sleeve, and then his right hand extended out from his sleeve. This outstretched hand formed a palm and pressed down on the planet. With this, a shocking rumble came from the planet. Large amounts of dust flew into the air and shrouded the entire planet in dust. At the same time, shocking screams came from the planet. The many outer realm cultivators that were cultivating opened their eyes. They were terrified, and they all flew out to see what was happening. The moment they appeared in the sky, they saw the countless raging dust storms that connected to the sky. This caused their vision to become blurry and made it look like the end of the world. A pressure that caused them all to tremble shrouded them, forming a suppressing force. Under this suppressing force, more than half of the outer realm cultivators coughed out blood. Their eyes were filled with fear. What kind of power is this? Who is it? Could it be that a third-step cultivator of the inner realm came? But all their third-step cultivators are in all heaven. Who can get through the layers of blockades to get here? Many outer realm cultivators that had been cultivating with their cultivation furnaces or abusing the inner realm cultivators and mortals were shocked by this. They were covered in cold sweat as they flew into the sky. Just as they arrived in the sky, they saw a terrifying scene. They saw a giant palm appear in the sky. This palm almost covered the entire sky, causing the sky to dim as if it was night. All light was blocked by the palm, causing the earth to fall into darkness. This giant palm also had a mark that was flashing. This mark would sometimes be clear and sometimes blurry. If one stared at it, their mind would become a mess. This mark was a door. This was the 10,000 void bone gate formed by countless white bones. After this gate was destroyed, it was imprinted on Wang Lin's palm. The moment the thousands of cultivators on the planet saw the gate, the fingers on the palm slowly closed as if it was going to form a fist. The thousands of cultivators felt a rumble as strands of aura seemed to be extracted from their bodies and pulled into the sky. When the karma print was used on a third-step cultivator, it would extract their essence and wouldn't affect their life. But if they hadn't reached the third step, the karma print would extract their soul, origin soul, life force, and various ethereal things from their body. The karma print was extremely terrifying. The moment it appeared, the the sky would change colors and the clouds would scatter. Right now, Wang Lin's attack was filled with anger and killing intent, making it even more shocking. The palm formed a fist before the thousands of confused cultivators. The fist didn't fall but instead pulled back. As it pulled back, the miserable screams of these thousands of cultivators echoed at the same time. Those miserable screams spread across the entire cultivation planet until they formed a powerful shock wave. The bodies of the thousands of cultivators in the sky all collapsed. Their heads separated from their bodies and flew into the sky. The heads flew toward Wang Lin as rays of light and followed behind him. Outside the cultivation planet, Wang Lin's right hand formed a fist. The endless life force souls and origin souls were gathered in his hand. He waved his hand and the thousands of origin souls returned to their heads. Where they were sealed with life and death, karma, and true and false. The miserable screams started echoing once more. These miserable screams were from thousands of heads, and the sound echoed across the stars. Mere thousands, still not enough. Wang Lin turned around and walked toward another planet he had seen in his divine sense. Deep within the summoned river, the divine sense of the third step cultivator stationed in this star system rushed out. It condensed to form shadow, and his origin body flew off from where he was. He locked onto Wang Lin and flew over from a distant place. Wang Lin wanted this person to come, so he had allowed him to lock on. Otherwise, that person wouldn't be qualified to find Wang Lin. If one comes, I'll kill one. If a bunch come, I'll kill a bunch. Wang Lin's eyes became gloomy, and the killing intent in his gaze became even stronger. He still hadn't killed enough, and as he moved forward, another planet appeared before him. The planet was in ruins and the death aura here was extremely powerful. It was obvious this place was once filled with life, but now it was filled with death. There was a clan in the ancient star system called the Underworld Clan. The members of this clan absorbed death aura to cultivate, and the places they would gather at were often filled with death aura. This planet was gifted to them by the Sovereign Council after they earned some achievements. The Underworld Clan was a small clan in the ancient star system. Most of their clan members had gathered here and made this their new home. There were countless gray bubbles floating around. These bubbles contained captives of the inner realm, and most of them were women. One of them was Zhou Zihong. Her eyes were closed and she was unconscious, but her clothes were still intact. Just at this moment, a thunderous rumble came from the planet and a giant rift appeared. A sucking force appeared to pull about 300 bubbles into it. Zhou Zihong was among them. Wishing for the like button for the video, hoping to double the likes on the video. In the meantime, everyone, throw your spare ones here. Through the dense death aura, you could see a bald man sitting in the depths of the rift. The man wore a purple robe, and sometimes you could see the faces of miserable souls stick out of his bald head, letting out a silent screams. As he waved his hand, the 300 bubbles rushed toward him. The bald man suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a strange light. He stared at the 300 inner realm cultivators with cruelty in his gaze. Only in the inner realm is there a chance for my underworld clan to rise. The more people die, the stronger the death aura. And there are also these living spirits. If it was in the ancient star system, killing this many people would result in punishment by the Sovereign Council. The man revealed a satisfied smile as he waved his sleeve, and the 300 bubbles exploded one by one. The collapse of the bubbles caused the 300 female summoned river cultivators to be exposed to the death aura. Their expressions became twisted from pain, and after the bubbles popped, their bodies began to slowly wither. Strands of life force came out of the orifices and gathered around their bodies to form shadows. These shadows were like origin souls. They were exactly the same as their bodies. Zhou Zihong's expression became twisted, and her body trembled. Her vitality quickly escaped her body and formed shadow shaped like her body. Zhou Zihong's vitality shadow and the other vitality shadows all flew toward the bald man. Underworld devour bliss. The bald man let out a roar and waved his hand. The 300 origin soul's shadow moved even faster and closed in on him. Just as he opened his mouth and was about to cruelly devour them, a cold snort echoed across the world. This cold snort was like a thunderous rumble and formed a sound wave. The bald man trembled and his extended arms collapsed into flesh and blood. He coughed out blood and quickly retreated with a terrified expression. Those 300 origin soul shadows slowly opened their eyes. They looked around in confusion. Who is it? Which third-step cultivator came to the Underworld clan? This old man is the patriarch of the Underworld clan. I don't know what I have done to offend Senior. Please, the bald man was pale and terrified. His heart was pounding and he was scared out of his wits. The other party had only let out a snort, but that was enough to cause his arms, which were using a spell, to shatter. His mind had also taken a serious blow. The energy and blood inside his body was a mess, and his origin soul almost collapsed. He was at the fifth heaven-s blight, so he immediately recognized that the other party as a third-step cultivator he couldn't offend. However, he didn't understand what he had done to offend this third-step cultivator and provoke his punishment. He didn't even guess that this third-step cultivator was not from the ancient star system but from the inner realm. He knew that all the inner realm cultivators had gathered in Al Heaven for their final struggle, and that it was impossible for them to come here. While panicking, before he could even finish speaking, his vision was covered in white light. He looked up at the rift and saw a white-haired young man in white walk through the death aura. The young man's expression was gloomy, and there were thousands of heads behind him that were letting out miserable screams. The screams caused the bald man's mind to tremble and his pupils to shrink. He looked at the man in white and felt that this man was very familiar. You are the bald man's mind rumbled, and after he froze for a moment, the familiar aura from the young man made him remember a name. The moment he remembered the name, the bald man let out an uncontrollable scream. He frantically retreated while screaming. Underworld clan members, quickly escape from this planet, quick, quick. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes and his right hand reached out at the void. A large, illusionary hand appeared and rushed toward the bald man. As the bald man was speaking, the hand grabbed him and squeezed. The bald man let out a tragic scream and his body collapsed. However, his head remained intact with his soul and origin soul sealed inside. As Wang Lin withdrew his hand, the head joined the thousands of heads behind him. At the same time, all over the planet, the auras of the Underworld clan members flew out. Each aura contained a member of the Underworld clan. They were confused, but they didn't hesitate to attempt to escape the planet. Although they didn't know what had happened, the Patriarch's order was the heavens. They would follow that order to the death. Wang Lin turned around, and his gaze was cold. He waved his right hand and thunder flashed in his right eye. A giant bolt of thunder appeared and split in countless directions with Wang Lin as the center. At this moment, lightning scattered across the dark planet and thunderous rumbles echoed. Each bolt of thunder was like a death sentence that had locked onto each member of the Underworld clan. Their bodies exploded, and the thunder brought their heads back. The screams of death echoed across the planet. Wang Lin ignored all of this and looked at the confused 300 origin souls. He gently waved his hand, and the origin souls returned to their bodies. Wang Lin stepped out with one step. The moment he stepped out, the bolts of thunder returned with heads. There were now almost 10,000 heads behind Wang Lin, and the thunder returned to Wang Lin's right eye. In just a few short breaths, all the Underworld clan members died. No one was left alive. Floating in the air, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pressed down on the earth. The endless death aura around the planet surged like the sea and flew toward him. In the end, the endless death aura condensed in Wang Lin's right hand, which represented death. It formed a ball of gas and rotated rapidly. As the death aura was taken away by Wang Lin, life returned to the planet. The many bubbles all broke, allowing the summoned river cultivators inside to regain their freedom. Wang Lin withdrew this gaze from the planet and then stepped into the sky with the ball of death aura in his hand. He mercilessly crushed the ball, and monstrous amounts of death aura charged into the sky. "Since you came, then don't leave." Wang Lin's voice was cold as he looked at the edge of the horizon, where the death aura was flying toward. The space distorted and a middle-aged man walked out. This middle-aged man wore a Taoist robe and his expression was extremely serious. His hands formed a seal and a tortoise shield appeared around him. The vortex of death aura landed on the tortoise cell. Thunderous rumbles echoed and cracks appeared on the trembling tortoise shield. However, it didn't break but was pushed back along with the middle-aged man. "Lord of the sealed realm, Wang Lin, you re not dead." The middle-aged man's eyes were shocked as he retreated. He had locked onto Wang Lin's divine sense, but couldn't see Wang Lin. When he saw Wang Lin destroy thousands of outer realm cultivators, he immediately wanted to withdraw. However, he was forced out of hiding by Wang Lin before he could retreat. Wang Lin didn't say a word, and killing intent filled his eyes. He instantly closed in on the middle-aged man and mercilessly hit the shield. There was a thunderous bang, and even more cracks appeared on the shield. The middle-aged man turned pale and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He retreated in terror. "You deliberately lured me here. You hid your cultivation." The power of the hand allowed the middle-aged man to clearly feel the terrifying aura coming from Wang Lin's body. His heart pounded wildly and all thoughts of killing disappeared from his mind. He wanted to escape immediately. However, since he had been lured here, Wang Lin wouldn't give him the chance to escape. Wang Lin let out a cold snort and raised his hand. His hand smashed down once more, and this hand contained karma. It landed on the shield, and the shield directly collapsed. An aura was extracted from the shield and the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's face was pale. After the shield collapsed, he retreated once more. His eyes became grim. This was a life-and-death calamity for him, and he feared he would not be able to escape. At this moment, he clenched his teeth and gave up on escaping. His hands formed a seal and pointed to the spot between his eyebrows, causing a rift to appear. This was the Joss flame world that was fused with his body. Just as he opened his Joss flame world, Wang Lin pointed forward with his right hand. "Stop!" With one word, the middle-aged man's body stopped. Just at this moment, Wang Lin closed in and his palm hit the middle-aged man's body. A rumble echoed inside the middle-aged man's body, and then Wang Lin's hand moved to his forehead. With a bang, the middle-aged man trembled and bled out of his orifices. His eyes were filled with struggle and fear as he tried to break free from the stop spell. However, before Wang Lin, he didn't have the chance. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He collapsed the man's mind and sealed with two palms. Then his right hand swept past the middle-aged man's neck. Blood sprayed everywhere as the middle-aged man's head separated from his body. His body collapsed into a pile of flesh and blood, and Wang Lin grabbed his head. "No one below the arcane void stage is a match for me." Wang Lin turned around and went off into the stars holding the head that was dripping blood. Wishing for the like button for the video. Thinking nonsense, wishing for the like button for the video. Nirvana void cultivators have to devour Tao spirits to solidify their Joss flame realms. They also require large amounts of Joss flame souls. However, this realm is only an external force. Only by reaching the spirit void stage can one integrate the Joss flame realm into their own body. Doing so allows the Joss flame souls to worship them, which then allows them to use powerful spells. It is very difficult to advance through the 4 void realms. Going from spirit void to arcane void is the most difficult as it requires an ethereal essence. Essences are divided into corporeal and ethereal. Things like the 5 elements are considered corporeal essences. These are easy to obtain and don't require much comprehension. One only needs to obtain a large amount of them and the essence will slowly be complete. Wang Lin's fire and thunder essences were completed like this. However, there were still the ethereal essences like karma, life and death, and true and false. These essences were extremely difficult to obtain because you couldn't find them, only comprehend. The reason why there were so few arcane void cultivators, only a dozen of so among the hundreds of millions of cultivators, was because an ethereal essence was difficult to obtain. If one already had an ethereal essence when breaking the void gate, then the bottleneck at the spirit void stage would be a lot easier to pass. However, far too few people had reached the 3rd step with an ethereal essence. As a result, they would need to obtain one by either stealing one or comprehending one. Although it was difficult to complete an essence after reaching the 3rd step, over the countless years, a lot of strange people and geniuses had tried. They slowly came up with a method. That method was very strange, but it showed that cultivators all think alike. Their method was to make their countless Joss flame souls cultivate. Those Joss flame souls' cultivation speed would increase greatly with the help of the 3rd step cultivator. They would create mountains and rivers and cycles, so that the people in the Joss flame realm didn't even know they were in an illusory world. This allowed the Joss flame souls to obtain illusory power, and over the countless years a soul with an ethereal essences would be born. Once an ethereal essence was born, it would be devoured by the 3rd step cultivator. Because all of this was illusory and the essence was originally part of the 3rd step cultivator's body, the devour would be perfect. Similarly, Even these Joss Flame Souls' cultivation was an illusion, so when after leaving their Joss Flame realm, they would turn back into ordinary mortals. Over the countless years, when someone tried to find out if the world they lived in was just the Joss Flame realm of a powerful existence, there was no answer. The only thing that proved this was that once you left, if all your cultivation disappeared and you became a mortal, then your existence was merely a Joss Flame. However, if your cultivation didn't change after you left, then everything was real. As Wang Lin walked through the summoned river, his divine sense returned from the head. When he first grabbed the head, he used Soul Search and obtained a lot of memories from the middle-aged man. He waved his right hand, and one more head was added to the tens of thousands of heads behind him. This was the first third-step cultivator head, but it definitely wouldn't be the last. There was no third-step cultivator left in Summoned River. If there were any, they had long fled. Wang Lin moved like a ray of light and swept through Summoned River. The planets he passed became a bloodbath. It was as if a violent wind had swept by and caused countless heads to fly off and follow him. Often, a flash of white would appear near a planet or garrison, and death would follow. As Wang Lin moved, even more heads gathered behind him. 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Until there were nearly 50,000 heads. 50,000 heads sounds simple, but if you looked at them all, the sight could shock any cultivator. This wasn't simply just a number but real heads that could be seen. The smell of blood was so thick that even if you were far away, you could clearly smell it. When Situ Nan and the thousands of cultivators arrived, they came to a summoned river that had been reclaimed and made vacant of outer realm cultivators. As they flew forward, they came across planets dyed red by blood. One after another, the cultivators of the summoned river followed Wang Lin's footsteps. Wang Lin moved, and they followed behind. Although there was a vast distance between them, Wang Lin was like a sword leading the charge. Everyone else followed him. Wang Lin withdrew from the summoned river. After he determined that no outer realm cultivator remained, he stepped into the Cloud Sea as the nearly 50,000 heads all screamed miserably. The Cloud Sea was originally the front line of the war, and a large amount of cultivators from both sides had died here. The moment he entered, Wang Lin felt like he heard the screams of countless ghosts. He closed his eyes. After feeling it for a bit, he opened his eyes, revealing a gaze filled with killing intent. He moved forward with the 50,000 heads floating behind him. It was a shocking scene. 50,000 heads is enough to form the life and death formation. As Wang Lin moved through the Cloud Sea, more than half of the floating continents from the past had been torn apart and collapsed. The remaining continents were occupied by large amounts of outer realm cultivators, and they had been here for a long time. Because the Cloud Sea was the front line, few very inner realm cultivators remained. Almost all of them had died. The entire Cloud Sea had become the land of the outer realm. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and instantly surrounded the Cloud Sea. Everything in the Cloud Sea clearly appeared in his mind. Looking at the foreign Cloud Sea, the anger in Wang Lin's heart raged like a storm. He didn't hide his divine sense at all, but used a domineering method to tell all the outer realm cultivators in the Cloud Sea that he had arrived. The outer realm cultivators on the continents all woke up when the Wang Lin's felt divine sense. They looked up at the sky in shock, and a bad feeling rapidly grew in their hearts. Wang Lin's divine sense was like a storm that swept across the Cloud Sea. It was like a heavy mace that hit the heart of very outer realm cultivator. Deep within the Cloud Sea, there was a rare planet. This used to be the heaven-breaking sect S planet, but now was in ruins. There were endless blue and purple seaweeds growing there, reaching up to thousands of feet tall. From afar, it looked as if the planet had grown hair. The entire planet was completely covered by this blue and purple seaweed. At the center of the endless seaweed were huge branches hundreds of feet thick, and there was a giant purple flower there. The flower was more than 10,000 feet tall, and it was very obvious that the seaweed was born because of it. The flower hadn't bloomed, but there was a bud about 100 feet large at the top. The flower bud was a circle and was vaguely transparent, and a woman sat inside. She was very beautiful and wore a light dress. While sitting there, she cultivated. The aura of mid-stage Nirvana Void cultivator spread out from the flower bud. When Wang Lin's aura spread across the Cloud Sea, the woman inside flower bud opened her eyes. Her gaze was filled with shock. As her eyes opened, the endless seaweed on the planet moved. Far away from the planet, where the fog covered up the hole in the realm ceiling formation, there was a giant floating continent. Countless outer realm cultivators were moving around on it, carrying large stones to build a temple. This temple had already taken rudimentary form, and there was a statue on top of it. This statue had 2 huge black wings. It also looked fierce and gave off a sense of majesty. This statue wasn't that of a man but a giant bat. An old man in red was sitting on the statue, and the mark between his eyebrows was a black bat. The moment Wang Lin's divine sense swept by, the old man opened his eyes in horror. He suddenly stood up and looked at the sky, his face becoming pale. At the same time, in our heaven, the outer realm cultivators had gathered hundreds of thousands of cultivators, and had several third-step cultivators staging this battle. A few of these people had participated in killing Wang Lin. These hundreds of thousands of outer realm cultivators formed a circle, and at a glance, they seemed to cover the endless space. They looked exhausted, but their fierceness didn't dissipate at all. These hundreds of thousands of cultivators were surrounding a magnificent formation composed of 999 planets. There were some inner realm cultivators on each planet, and they had resisted here for a very long time. At the center of the formation was a circular altar. It was shrouded by a mist and could barely be seen. A person was sitting on the altar. On a cultivation planet, a woman with an indifferent gaze bit her lower lip and despair gradually appeared in her eyes. On another planet, Mu Bingmei's long and beautiful hair was tied up. She wore white and her beautiful face was filled with confusion. People Wang Lin was familiar with were on these planets. Wishing for the like button for the VIDEO, hoping to charge through the trending charts for the VIDEO this month, Wang Lin was in the Cloud Sea. He didn't go directly to Al Heaven. He couldn't subvert this war with his own strength. Even if he used the Li Guang bow, he could only temporarily change the battle. He had to consider how to hold out for 3 years. When the people from the ancient celestial realm come out in 3 years, he will still need to go destroy the outer realm's ancient celestial realm. All of this required the Li Guang bow, and he didn't have enough celestial energy to use the bow that many times. Therefore, knowing the danger that resided in Al Heaven, he chose not to slaughter his way there. He would first slaughter the outer realm cultivators in the other star systems. He needed their heads and origin souls to complete the strongest formation. As Wang Lin moved forward, he passed by many continents. As death became widespread, the number of heads behind Wang Lin exceeded 50,000. The moment the number passed 50,000, Wang Lin waved his hand. His left hand pointed at the void. Left hand is life. With this phrase, the 50,000 heads moved. Half of them flew to his left and formed a giant vortex. Right hand controls death. Wang Lin pointed with his right hand, and half of the heads flew over to form a death vortex. Wang Lin's eyes were serious as his hand rapidly formed seals that flew into the 2 vortexes. A moment later, Wang Lin let out a roar. The 2 vortexes that represented life and death overlapped and instantly fused into one. This resulted in thunderous rumbles that caused space itself to tremble. The fused vortex rotated rapidly and expanded. 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet, over 1 million feet. This giant vortex rotated above Wang Lin, and even space itself seemed to rotate along with it. Life and death formation form. Wang Lin bit the tip of his tongue and spat out his third step essence blood. The blood turned into mist and fused with the vortex. As they fused, cracking sounds came from the vortex and the giant vortex stopped rotating. Not only did it stop rotating, it began to solidify. In the blink of an eye, the giant vortex completely solidified. It was formed by many rings and gave off a terrifying aura. From afar, the solidified vortex looked like a huge wheel. This wheel represented life and death. If it wasn't rotating, everything would live. If it started rotating, everything would die. What formed the wheel was the more than 50,000 screaming heads. Wang Lin jumped up and stood on top of the wheel. The wheel didn't rotate but rushed forward. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light as the wheel moved toward another continent. He was going to kill. He wanted even more heads and origin souls to form the second formation. The Karma formation. He quickly moved past continents, and they collapsed before him. All the outer realm cultivators died, and their heads were taken by Wang Lin. There was now a large number of heads following him. This represented death. The smell of blood around him was so strong it was as if a rain of blood was going to fall. After killing thousands of Outer Realm cultivators on a continent, he stepped forward. The number of heads gradually reached tens of thousands behind Wang Lin, but his slaughter was not over. Wang Lin waved his right hand and raised his palm. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and many Outer Realm cultivators on the continent before him tried to escape. However, their bodies trembled, and their blood sprayed everywhere before the head flew towards Wang Lin. This didn't take long. As Wang Lin swept through the star system, even more Outer Realm cultivators died. A moment later, a giant planet appeared before Wang Lin. This planet was covered in seaweed. The moment he arrived, the aura of a third-step cultivator erupted from the planet. This planet was where the woman was. When she noticed Wang Lin, she didn't dare to attack early but couldn't find a way to escape. She could only wait for Wang Lin to come and then battle him using this planet. This planet was completely under her control by her, and the endless seaweed came from her jaw's flame souls. Although she couldn't beat Wang Lin here, she could reach her strongest peak. A sharp noise came from the planet when Wang Lin arrived. When it rang out, the seaweed on the planet began to grow like crazy. They grew to be 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet, 1,000,000 feet, or even 10 million feet long. And they were still extending. In a flash, the cultivation planet went through a strange change that had never taken place before. As the endless seaweed grew, the cultivation planet turned into a head. The seaweed that was still growing was the long hair of this head. The flowers on the planet bloomed, and the beautiful woman revealed her face. Her murmur shrouded the planet and caused the mountains and rivers on the planet to change. Some mountains fell and some rose. Some rivers dried up and some appeared out of nowhere. As a result, the planet changed drastically and the planet turned into a giant head. This was the head of a woman. As the planet's surface changed, it took on the appearance of the woman. This scene was extremely strange to watch in space. The giant cultivation planet became her head. Her face was very beautiful and her eyes were closed. The seaweed that formed the hair floated without any wind. This made her even more beautiful and gave her a thrilling sense of charm. A mountain peak formed her nose. Mountains formed her eyebrows, the canyons her lips, and the oceans her eyes. All of this showed how shocking her spell was. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked over. Just at this moment, the eyebrows of the woman's head trembled. The trembling of the eyelashes was actually the collapse of mountains on the planet. Then the woman suddenly opened her eyes. A merciless gaze stared at Wang Lin, and a scream that could collapse the void came from her mouth. This spell is not bad, but your cultivation is too weak. Wang Lin's right hand reached at the void before him and bloodlight surrounded the area. The blood sword appeared out of nowhere. Fire appeared in his left eye and thunder flashed in his right. Between his eyebrows, life and death, karma, and true and false appeared. They all fused into the blood sword before him. The blood sword gave off a monstrous sound as if it was extremely excited. It was as if it had been hungry for many years and now it could finally erupt. Staring at the head with the merciless gaze, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His right hand held up the sword and mercilessly chopped down. When the sword fell, a rumble echoed across the sky, replacing everything. A large ray of sword energy that could cut everything descended and fell on the giant head in the blink of an eye. The woman's merciless gaze collapsed and became filled with fear and despair. Her spell was interrupted and her head split in half. There was a flash of light and the sword energy penetrated through. The woman's original body's head also separated from her body, her eyes filled with confusion. Wang Lin's right hand fell and the blood sword dissipated. He no longer looked at it and walked past the planet. As he passed, his left hand casually reached toward the head. In an instant, the woman's head flew from the planet and landed in Wang Lin's hand. He then threw it behind him and left. It wasn't until a long time after he left that the planet completely split apart and shattered. The nightmare of the Outer Realm cultivators in the Cloud Sea was coming to an end. Wang Lin appeared in areas his divine sense had swept by, and all the Outer Realm cultivators found it difficult to escape death. No one could stop Wang Lin from leaving behind a blood trail as he left with heads with origin souls sealed inside. Soon, the number of heads behind Wang Lin reached 50,000. After taking the heads of all the Outer Realm cultivators, aside from the ones inside the fog, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He looked into the distance. That was where the hole to the Outer Realm surrounded by fog was located. There was a floating continent there, and it was rapidly moving. The thousands of cultivators were pushing the continent toward the hole to the outer realm. When Wang Lin looked over, more than half were in the outer realm already. Want to run? Too late. Wang Lin waved his right hand and the wheel below him that represented life and death flew out. It broke through the void and shot toward the last continent in the fog. I'll take you all as sacrifices to my life and death formation. End the slaughter in the cloud sea. In an instant, the fog above the continent churned, and the life and death wheel suddenly appeared. After it appeared, an unimaginable pressure descended on the continent. The expression of the old man on the statue changed when he saw the giant wheel slowly rotate once. Life and death was one rotation. The video schedule for first is up, and I ask all friends not to be stingy. Remember to share Leo. If you're capable friends, please be prepared to support Leo with a like. The life and death formation had evolved from the vortex, solidifying into a wheel. If it didn't move, life and death didn't move. If it moved, then life and death would reverse. As the giant wheel rotated, thunderous rumbles seemed to come from the distance. The sound broke through the void and arrived in the area surrounded by fog. When the wheel moved, life and death was decided. A powerful pressure came from the wheel and descended on the continent that was halfway through the hole in the realm ceiling formation. This pressure suppressed life and death. It could wear out the souls and origin souls of all tangible and intangible things. The continent trembled and countless cracks appeared along its edges. The collapse quickly spread from the edges of the continent. The thunderous rumbles were deafening. In an instant, the cracks on the continent were like gullies. The howling sounds of the gullies echoed across the continent. The continent's trembling became even more intense as the wheel rotated. Many of the cultivators on the continent turned pale and coughed out blood from the suppression. Popping sounds were echoing from their bodies and their expressions showed their pain. Some of those with lower cultivation levels had their bodies explode from the pressure. Their origin souls were sealed inside their heads before their heads flew into the air. The giant temple that had taken rudimentary shape trembled and became covered in cracks as the wheel rotated. Soon, the temple collapsed into ruins. Blood flowed out from the corner of the old man's mouth and fear appeared in his eyes. He struggled to let out a roar before jumping up. His hands formed a seal and black wind gathered around him to form a giant mouth that flew at the wheel. It seemed like he wanted to devour the wheel. Wang Lin could only use two words to describe this kind of action. Overestimating oneself. This old man had overestimated himself and dared to try to devour Wang Lin's life and death formation. He was not worthy of devouring it. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and he let out a cold snort. As the wheel rotated, the old man was surrounded by black wind and the mouth opened even wider. It expanded to more than 100,000 feet tall and barely devoured the life and death wheel. This old man had to do this. He knew he couldn't escape. Since it was death either way, he had risked it all. If he succeeded, not only would he survive, but he would become famous. With a monstrous roar, the giant mouth the old man had formed devoured the life and death wheel. However, just at this moment, a miserable cry came from inside the mouth. A shocking force erupted from inside. This force contained life and death, contained the suppression force. The giant mouth collapsed with a bang, and the pieces scattered in all directions. It was an amazing scene, looking as if the clouds covering the sky were split apart. The black fog collapsed, and the life and death wheel appeared once more. At this instant, a powerful force came from the wheel and entered the old man's body. He coughed out blood and was smashed into the temple that had become a ruin. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and even more cracks covered the continent. A 10,000-foot deep pit appeared where the old man landed. In the deep pit, the old man's body was covered in injuries, and blood dyed his clothes red. He was very weak, and the fear in his eyes had reached a limit. He struggled to try and stand up. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin waved his sleeve and pointed downward. The motionless wheel in the sky descended 9 inches. 9 for divine retribution. The pressure shattered the world. As it descended, the old man that was struggling to get up coughed out blood once more. He was suppressed by the increasing pressure and had no strength to break free. He was slammed back into the earth. The continent began to collapse once more. Large amounts of boulders separated from the continent and turned into dust. The remaining outer realm cultivators on the continent collapsed and countless died. Only the more powerful ones sat down on the continent and resisted this pressure. Their faces were deathly pale and despair appeared in their eyes. The slaughter in the Cloud Sea is over. Wang Lin closed his eyes and waved his right hand. The life and death wheel suddenly descended 9 more inches toward the collapsing continent. At this moment, the old man inside the deep pit let out the last miserable scream of his life. His body exploded, and his origin soul and soul were sealed inside his head. His head was sent flying into the air after his body exploded. The moment the old man died, the remaining outer realm cultivators all exploded and died. When all life was extinguished, the continent collapsed completely. All the pieces that fell off would collapse once more until they became dust. Even the half of the continent that had entered the realm sealing formation couldn't escape. It also became dust that disappeared from the stars. The moment Wang Lin opened his eyes, thousands of heads, including the third step old man's head, flew toward him. They became part of the tens of thousands of heads following him. He took one last look at the Cloud Sea before stepping toward the last place he was going to go. That place was Heaven. That place was where many people who Wang Lin was familiar with were. That place was where the final battle was taking place. Wang Lin stepped toward Heaven, and the screams of the tens of thousands of heads echoed across the stars. Below him, the motionless wheel followed. Karma formation? Form? Wang Lin's voice faintly echoed. The tens of thousands of heads flew above him and rotated to form another giant vortex. Wang Lin raised his right hand and his 5 fingers opened. He then pressed down and the vortex rotated even faster. The tens of thousands of heads seemed to merge together, making it impossible to see them individually anymore. Wang Lin's right hand slowly formed a fist. The moment he formed a fist, the world rumbled, and the vortex suddenly stopped rotating. It turned into a karma wheel and floated above Wang Lin. Wang Lin had a wheel above and below him. He was between them like a celestial god that controlled life and death and karma. His flowing white hair gave off a cold, killing intent. Heaven Wang Lin's figure flickered forward and he disappeared with the 2 wheels above and below him. When he reappeared, he was in Heaven. In Heaven, hundreds of thousands of outer realm cultivators surrounded the 999 planet formation. The remaining inner realm cultivators on these planets all had a sorrowful expression. They knew the inner realm had lost this war. These 999 cultivation planets were picked from all 4 major star systems and were the foundation of the inner realm. However, they couldn't stop signs of collapse from appearing when the outer realm cultivators' spells bombarded them. It felt like they could be destroyed at any moment. A heaven-shaking roar that shook space itself echoed. One of the planets could no longer withstand the bombardment and finally collapsed. A storm swept the area. The earth of the planet shattered, and the ocean turned to gas. The whole planet split into countless pieces, and the soul of the planet vanished. The moment the cultivation planet collapsed, the outer realm cultivators roared. Hundreds of thousands of outer realm cultivators rushed out. They took out various treasures and began another crazed attack on the planet formation. Events like this had taken place many times over the last few months. Although it wasn't enough to collapse the formation, they could break many planets. Today, there were no longer 999 planets here, but less than 300. All the third step cultivators that were attacking were below the arcane void stage. All the arcane void cultivators were floating around, observing with cold gazes. The purpose of their existence was to stop the inner realm cultivators from destroying the planet formation as a way of mutual destruction. There was a total of 5 arcane void cultivators from the outer realm here. 3 of them were celestial imperial concubines, 2 of which were involved in Wang Lin's death. The other one wore a purple dress. She looked like a noble woman. In addition, Wang Lin knew the other 2 arcane void cultivators as well. It was the old woman and old man in black who had attacked him during that life and death crisis. Aside from the sovereign, the middle-aged man who had died, and Heaven Master Void God, everyone else who was part of that attack was here. With these arcane void cultivators here, the inner realm cultivators couldn't even attempt to destroy the planet formation for a mutual destruction. They could only watch the planets be destroyed one by one. Aside from those arcane void cultivators, there were 7 more third-step cultivators. They varied from Nirvana Void to Spirit Void. It was those 7 that were leading the outer realm cultivators to attack from 7 different directions. Those thunderous rumbles echoed across Heaven and shook everyone's minds. Aside from these 7 people, there was another woman among a group of outer realm cultivators. This woman was very beautiful, and she looked at the planet formation with a cold gaze, but there was a hidden sense of worry in her eyes. She was the original body of Grandmaster Yun Luo, who had lost her avatar. The VIDEO has reached first place in the ranking but still can't maintain the top position. Urgently wishing for all friends to push a round of VIDEO, Leo is extremely grateful. He won TD so easily. Is the future I predicted true or false? The worry in Yunuo's heart had become even stronger as time passed. She could never forget those scenes from the past. During her divination, she clearly saw the back of the figure that would destroy the ancient star system. At this moment, she could only suppress the worry in her heart. She raised her jade-like hand, and the surrounding cultivators all rushed forward. The Outer Realm army attacked from 8 different directions like 8 sharp swords toward the planet formation. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and shortly after, a monstrous shockwave spread out. The observing arcane void cultivators waved their hands to dissipate the shockwave so it couldn't affect the attacking Outer Realm cultivators. Mu Bingmei stood on a planet with thousands of God Sect cultivators around her. Over the years, as the God Sect S-Sect Master, Mu Bingmei had used her unique charm and Wang Lin's parting words to unite the God Sect. Since then, the God Sect had always listened to her and had used their full force in the battle at the Cloud Sea, at the Summoned River, at the Brilliant Void, and this final battle. They had suffered large amounts of deaths and injuries, and she herself had almost died twice. However, only a few thousand people from the God Sect remained. Sectmaster, please go to the core altar. We can guard this place. Beside Mu Bingmei, an old man with white hair looked at her with a sorrowful gaze and clasped his hands at her. As he spoke, the surrounding God Sect cultivators all looked at Mu Bingmei. They all clasped their hands at her and said the same thing. Sectmaster, please go to the core altar. We can guard this place. Mu Bingmei's eyes remained calm. She didn't look at the member of the God Sect that had followed her through countless battles. She looked up at the sky, at the tens of thousands of Outer Realm cultivators that were bombarding the formation. Between her and the Outer Realm cultivators was a light screen from the planet formation, which the Outer Realm cultivators were bombarding. Once that light screen collapsed, the cultivation planet would perish as well. There was a young man wearing green among those Outer Realm cultivators. He was very handsome but gave off an evil aura. He had countless ghosts of beautiful women who were formed by spells. They let out miserable screams and attacked the light screen. The young man's gaze penetrated the light and landed on Mu Bingmei. He smiled. Beauty, don't worry, this light will break soon. I heard you were the dead lord of the sealed realm S-woman. I have always been interested in pair cultivation with someone else S-woman. This voice slowly came from the light outside. Not even the thunderous rumble of tens of thousands of cultivators bombarding could stop his voice from echoing. This young man was one of the 7 third-step cultivators below the arcane void cultivators. He raised his right hand and pointed at Mu Bingmei inside the planet and smiled. Mu Bingmei's gaze was calm and her eyes became cold. The young man's name was Dao Feishan, the head of the Dao Fei clan, who were good at pair cultivation. His personality was cruel, and many God Sect disciples had died to him. This Dao Feishan not only liked women but also handsome men. Mu Bingmei had faced 2 life and death crises. One of them was being hunted by him. If not for Qing Shuai making a move to help, it would have been difficult for her to escape humiliation. Sect Master. I asked the Sect Master enter the core altar. This old man doesn't believe the Lord of the Sealed Realm is dead. If anything happens to you and the Lord of the Sealed Realm returns, this came from a white-haired old man beside Mu Bingmei, his voice sounding anxious. I am the God Sect's Sect Master, Mu Bingmei said softly, her words filled with determination. In another direction, the woman in pink who said Lord doesn't he know me stood on a cultivation planet. Behind her were the cultivators from the Cultivation Alliance from the Brilliant Void. Although the alliance had collapsed years ago, many cultivators remained. However, as the battle continued, less than 3,000 remained. These 3,000 cultivators all came from the Brilliant Void. Although they were tired, they still stood there. They stood behind the woman in pink, ready to die. Above them, outside the light of the planet formation, tens of thousands of Outer Realm cultivators continued bombarding like crazy. Among this group of cultivators was a topless middle-aged man. He had a ferocious expression as he attacked with wind and thunder. Endless wind and thunder bombarded the planet formation. His attacks alone were a match for these tens of thousands of cultivators. This person was also one of the 7 third-step cultivators. His body was large like a murderous mountain. He let out a roar as he attacked with the tens of thousands of cultivators. He grinned and attacked the light screen, causing it to distort and become unstable. Everything is about to end. This is good as well. The woman in pink had hidden her deep exhaustion. Her body looked very weak, as if even the wind could cause her to collapse. She withdrew her gaze from the sky and looked at her fellow cultivators from the brilliant void. She wanted to say something, but her words were interrupted by a rumble in the distance. A planet in the distance collapsed. The thousands of cultivators on the planet died to a wave from an old man in blue. Another planet was destroyed. This formation was originally made of 999 planets. Each planet would form a light screen, and 999 layers would combine together to form a powerful reflective force. However, as the planets were destroyed and the layers of light shattered, the power of the planet formation was decreasing rapidly. The woman in pink turned her head and murmured softly, "Born as an inner realm cultivator, and dying as in soul in the inner realm, it's just that I am a bit unwilling in my heart. I haven't told him who I am." Tens of thousands of outer realm cultivators were bombarding the western part of the planet formation, and the light screen was on the verge of collapse. On the planet, Shi Zihong was biting her lower lip along with other cultivators of all heaven. Zhang Kongli and Shen Gonghu were also there. Master Flamespark was also among them. They were all heaven cultivators, and they felt helpless facing the tens of thousands of cultivators outside, watching the light screen being destroyed bit by bit. They were waiting for the light screen to collapse before erupting with the last power in their lives. When the light screen breaks, we all self-destruct. Are you all ready? Master Flamespark spoke in a low voice. They weren't the first group to choose to self-destruct. Almost all the cultivation planets here had chosen to self-destruct when the light screen was broken. In the distance, a thunderous rumble echoed. Another planet collapsed after the light screen was destroyed. A sharp laugh came from the planet formation. An array of green light flew out toward the outer realm army. The moment the green light appeared, a laughter came from the outer realm arcane void cultivators. The old man that had participated in attacking Wang Lin collided with the green light. With a thunderous bang, the green light dissipated a bit and retreated a few steps. On the other side, the old man retreated 1,000 feet and his eyes shined. With a grin, he formed a seal and black fog filled the area. "You are powerful, reign celestial realm's Emperor Qing Lin. You are worthy of being the last lord of the sealed realm's disciple. Your cultivation is clearly not as powerful as mine, but you are able to borrow the power of Joss Flames." The green light scattered, revealing Qing Lin's body. His face was pale and he was seriously injured. He had only rested for a bit before he left to battle the outer realm's third-step cultivators. Since the day the siege started, he had been like this. Just as Qing Lin appeared, a chilling aura came from the planet formation. A woman wearing purple walked out. Her expression was soft, but her eyes contained killing intent. She was from the Summoned River. She was the master of the Summoned River. When she walked out, one of the arcane void cultivators watching laughed. The woman who destroyed Wang Lin's internal organs flew out toward the woman in purple. Deep within the planet formation, there was an altar shrouded in fog. Qin Shui was sitting there, his figure obscured by the fog. His body trembled and his expression became twisted as he endured endless pain. 7 strands of black gas shrouded his orifices. This black gas was like venomous snakes, and no matter how much Qing Shui struggled, he couldn't force them out. Master Hong Shan was sitting behind him. His fingers continued to land on Qing Shui's back. He was helping Qing Shui force out this black gas. "Master Hong Shan, don't worry about me." Qing Shui's eyes opened and were turning lax. There were 7 faint black dots circling. "If I don't help you, you will die within 45 minutes. Master Hong Shan's forehead was covered in sweat. He waved his right hand and a black light appeared out of thin air. A puppet charged out while he remained behind Qing Shui. Qing Shui clenched his teeth and let out a roar. His slaughter essence erupted and collided with Master Hong Shan's finger. His body trembled and he coughed out a large amount of blood. Then he turned around and roared. "Don't worry about me." Master Hong Shan looked profoundly at Qing Shui with sorrow in his eyes. He then got up and stepped outside the altar. A thunderous rumble echoed. The arcane void old woman from the outer realm greeted him with a sneer. Qing Shui breathed heavily on the altar as black blood flowed out from his mouth. His vision became blurry and he struggled to raise his head to look at a planet in the distance. That planet was where the woman in pink was. Is it her? It should be. A softness appeared in Qing Shui's eyes. He had noticed many years ago, but he hadn't confirmed it. Just at this moment, the light around the cultivation planet the woman in pink was on was broken by the burly man using wind and thunder. The burly man let out a laugh and charged in with tens of thousands of cultivators. Urgently wishing for all friends to push around a video. Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter palpitating with eagerness. The old man grumbled, "This is really troublesome." He coldly looked up at Zhao Chuanliang and said, "I don't want to kill right now, so scram." The old man wasn't lying. The mysterious corpse sect was more scary to him than rank 4 or 5 cultivation countries. Unless he had to, he really didn't want to get into a fight with them. What angered him the most was that the fight wasn't even for himself, but for a junior that had no relation to him other than him needing to use this brat. Zhao Chuanliang's pupils shrank as he stared at the old man. That casual wave of the old man's hand was able to destroy his attack. This secretly shocked him. He had already heard about this old man from Hufen. The reason he had brought all of the nascent soul cultivators from the sect was to prevent this person from acting. But now it seemed that this person's cultivation level was much higher than he had anticipated. Zhao Chuanliang pondered for a bit, and then said, "Senior, this person is connected to an important matter of my corpse sect. I have to take him with me today." The old man secretly sighed. He wondered why this brat was so troublesome. Out of all the people he could have offended, why did this brat have to offend the corpse sect? If he had a choice, he would just leave and not get involved in this anymore. But he had no choice. Offending the corpse sect wasn't a big deal if he were successful in that place. And looking back at that brat Mao Liang's previous actions, the brat was sure that he was going to act. Although he hated this, he couldn't help but admire this brat as well. Those who cultivated the demonic method were different from normal people. The 8th extreme demon lord believed that Wang Lin's actions were correct. If it was he himself in that position, he would have done the same thing. After hearing Zhao Chuanliang's words, the 8th extreme demon lord frowned. He looked at Wang Lin and asked, in a lukewarm tone, "How did you offend the corpse sect?" Wang Lin looked at the vicious members of the corpse sect and calmly said, "I don't know." Zhao Chuanliang's eyes were like lightning as he stared at Wang Lin and said, "You don't know? You killed corpse sect disciples on the burning gold mountains and you dare to say you don't know?" Wang Lin rolled his eyes and said, "I still don't know." With that, he didn't even look at Zhao Chuanliang as he closed his eyes and began to cultivate. However, in his heart, he was prepared to escape into the sea of devils with his earth escape technique if the old man decided to not help him. Zhao Chuanliang sneered. He looked toward the old man and said, "Senior, not only has this person killed disciples of my corpse sect, he also captured the soul of a disciple of Tiangang, Shu Liguo, who came to possess a body. I spent a lot of effort and even took a trip to Tiangang to buy this information from old man Tian Dai. This can be wrong." The old man's face became a bit ugly as he muttered, "Old man Tian Di." Old man Tian Di's cultivation is very powerful. He was able to find out what happened back then using Shu Liguo's soul lamp. It was this person called Ma Liang who killed my corpse sect's disciples and trapped Shu Liguo's soul. With that, Zhao Chuanliang waved his hand and his body disappeared. The 4 nascent soul cultivators behind him also disappeared and reappeared before the 8th extreme demon lord. As for Zhao Chuanliang, he appeared above Wang Lin and quickly threw down a mass of black smoke from his hand. At the same time, the core formation cultivators inside the formation began a mysterious chant. The formation immediately expanded at a very quick pace and covered the surrounding 1,000 kilometers. A cold light flashed across the 8th extreme demon lord's eyes as he quickly split from 1 to 2. This avatar quickly appeared between Zhao Chuanliang and Wang Lin. He opened his mouth and sucked in all the black gas. "Impudent!" the avatar shouted as a green gourd suddenly appeared in his hand. With a slap, the cork on the bottle came out and a powerful force came out of the gourd. Ripples appeared in the air with the mouth of the gourd as the origin and spread wider and wider. Zhao Chuanliang's expression immediately changed as he and the other 4 nascent soul cultivators teleported multiple times to return to the formation. The old man's eyes were cold. His voice was low as he slowly said, "There are several reasons why I haven't massacred people in a long time. Yet a mere early-stage nascent soul cultivator dares to act so impudently before me. If you harm even a hair on Ma Liang's head today, I, the 8th Extreme Demon Lord, will go wipe out your corpse sect." With that, he reached up and formed a giant hand. Like breaking a child's toy, the corpse sect's transfer formation was shattered. The energy within it quickly spread out in all directions and disappeared. Aside from 5 pale-faced nascent soul cultivators who were able to dodge it, all of the core formation cultivators were turned to dust by this shockwave along with the coffins behind them. Zhao Chuanliang's body shivered as he stared at the old man and bitterly said, "Senior's cultivation level is very high, but becoming enemies with the corpse sect is not wise. With Senior's cultivation, you should have some understanding of our corpse sect, but what you understand is only the tip of the iceberg. I once again advise Senior to not make an enemy of the corpse sect. Even if Senior is the city lord of one of the 7 plum flower cities, it would be hard to escape death. The 8th Extreme Demon Lord didn't want to offend the corpse sect, so he didn't kill these 5. As for those core formation cultivators, he checked them with his divine sense to make sure that none of them were being possessed. He killed them all only after he confirmed that they weren't. The old man frowned and slowly said, "This person is of great use to me. I wouldn't bother protecting him otherwise. You guys should leave. If it wasn't today, I wouldn't be bothered with this." Wang Lin looked coldly at everything that was happening. Although his expression remained normal when the old man broke the transfer formation, his heart was shocked. This 8th Extreme Demon Lord was able to break the Houfen Union's sect protection formation with one palm, and easily crush the transfer formation of the corpse sect. Wang Lin had been wondering what exact cultivation level this old man was at and reached a conclusion that caused him to stop breathing. In truth, he already had this guess very early on. From when the old man started chasing him in the Sea of Devils, everything this old man had done showed how powerful his cultivation was. Soul formation. This 8th Extreme Demon Lord's cultivation level was very likely soul formation, or else there was no way for him to be able to so easily do what he had done. After hearing Zhao Chuanliang speak of the 7 plum flower cities of the inner Sea of Devils, Wang Lin recalled that name. His eyes turned to the old man and locked onto the 7 plum flower on old man's clothes. Zhao Chuanliang pondered for a bit before staring coldly at Wang Lin. He slowly said, "Ma Liang, the corpse sect is far beyond your imagination. Offending the corpse sect is the biggest mistake of your life." With that, he disappeared. The 4 nascent soul cultivators also coldly looked at Wang Lin before disappearing. Wang Lin pondered for a bit. If it wasn't for the corpse sect disciples attacking him first with the intent to kill, he wouldn't have killed them. If he had let Shu Yiguo go, it would have created a series of problems. However, the cultivation world runs by the law of the jungle. The corpse sect was like a very large and powerful creature. If it said it was your fault, it was your fault. Even if it wasn't your fault, it still was your fault. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Even though he had already been very careful, he still got into this much trouble. In the end, it was because his cultivation level wasn't high enough. If he had the same cultivation level as the 8th Extreme Demon Lord, then even if he had killed one person, it would be such a big deal. Wang Lin became even more determined to reach the nascent soul stage. Whether it was for himself or for returning to Zhao to get revenge on Teng Huayuan, he absolutely had to succeed in reaching the nascent soul stage, or everything he wanted to do would just be dream. The 8th Extreme Demon Lord turned toward Wang Lin and gloomily said, "Little guy, this is the 2nd time I have helped you. No matter what misunderstanding we have, this should be more than enough to make up for it. I hope that when we go in, you won't try any unnecessary scheming." The 8th Extreme Demon Lord now had some understanding of Wang Lin's schemes from these days with Wang Lin and the time he had spent chasing him. This Ma Liang was a good seed for demonic cultivation. He easily guessed what had happened after hearing about the matter from Zhao Chuanliang. This brat was very ruthless and bold. In the Sea of Devils, the brat dared to move around openly with the kill order. He used the kill order to draw people to him in order to kill them until they ran away scared. It could be said that this person was very decisive and ruthless. When he chased him out of the Sea of Devils, The brat dared to leave a flying sword to ambush him, which even drew blood. This showed just how bold this person was. If those were the only things, then he wouldn't really be much. But this person even borrowed someone's power to force the war god's shrine to let him see the divine path. This person was a true schemer. Just now, when Zhao Chuanyang attacked him, he was able to not even bat an eye. He didn't show a hint of panic. This showed just how calm and determined he was. In addition to all of this, the 8th Extreme Demon Lord remembered that it took him 3 years to finally trap this person. In the end, the only words the old man had that could describe him was as sly as a fox. This person was ruthless, bold, and decisive. He was also very brave, cunning, determined, and as sly as a fox. Even the 8th Extreme Demon Lord became tempted after carefully analyzing the situation. He stared at Wang Lin as one thought entered his mind. Embarrassed, I've been remiss in saying thank you. Thank you all for pressing the like button. Thanks to the fellow Taoists for their praise. Xianxia's body trembled, and his dim eyes erupted with the last of his power. He had lost his parents, lost his teacher, lost his lover, lost all his friends from the celestial realm, and in the end even Wang Lin seemed to have died. He had lost everything. He wouldn't allow himself to lose the woman in pink before him. Xianxia felt the aura of his daughter's soul from his woman. This aura made Xianxia very excited. He had laughed like crazy and had watched the woman countless times. She seemed to have become the reason for him to live on. She was his everything. Even though Xianxia was seriously injured, and he could not live for more than 45 minutes without Master Hongshan's help, during these 45 minutes that he was alive, he wouldn't allow his daughter to suffer any injuries. This was something he had to do as a father. He felt a lot of guilt for his daughter, and had searched for a very long time to find her. His mouth let out a roar that sounded like a wild beast. His hand smashed down on the altar and the altar cracked. An extremely powerful rebound force came from the altar. Borrowing this rebound force, Xianxia's body shot out from the altar and flew toward the planet that had its light screen shattered. His vision was blurry, and he couldn't see the world clearly anymore. At this moment, the only thing he could see clearly was the figure of that woman on that planet. The woman in pink was pale. She saw the light curtain collapse, and the burly man was rushing in with the power of wind and thunder. The tens of thousands of cultivators behind him rushed in. She felt the cultivation planet below her tremble violently. As if it could not withstand the pressure of the burly man and the tens of thousands of cultivators behind him, the planet began to collapse. Countless gullies appeared on the earth, and the ground began to move up and down like the sea. The cultivators beside her all rushed forward with red eyes. They were like moths flying into the flame as they charged at the invaders. When moths fly into the fire, do they really not know they are flying to their death? Perhaps they don't know, or perhaps they do know. As the violent wind raged, the woman in pink's face was pale, but it contained a hint of red. There was still a hint of unwillingness within her, but she decisively cut it off and walked forward. Her cultivation level wasn't high, but she was a member of the inner realm. She was afraid of death, but she wouldn't mind dying a martyr as their kingdom was about to be destroyed. The wind and thunder burly man grinned and ignored all the weak inner realm cultivators. Instead, his hand mercilessly pressed down. With this press, the black wind turned into a storm, and there were countless balls of thunder mixed in. The storm formed a black thunder dragon that rushed at the earth below. The only person blocking him was the woman in pink. The wind and thunder burly man stood on the head of the black thunder dragon. He instantly passed thousands of cultivators and was only a few hundred feet from the woman in pink. Ant-like cultivator? The burly man revealed a look of disdain. The woman in pink wasn't qualified to resist. His target was to destroy this planet and go after the next one. However, just as he was within 100 feet of the woman in pink, his expression changed greatly. He looked toward the altar deep inside the planet formation. A roar of a wild beast came from the altar. It was filled with the power to destroy the heavens. It was filled with the wrath of a father that would kill anyone who dared to hurt this woman. Die for me. A ray of bloodlight flashed and countless red snowflakes appeared out of nowhere. The red snowflakes rotated rapidly and Xianxia charged out. His speed reached a limit. He was crazy, and his slaughter essence was erupting from his body. The thunderous rumbles even caused people who were battling far away to look over. The expression of the burly man changed greatly. He knew Qing Shui and how strong Qing Shui was. Almost no one among the Nirvana Void cultivators was his match. At this moment, he stopped thinking about the planet and changed the Black Thunder Dragon to prepare for Qing Shui. However, this behavior made Qing Shui's madness reach a never-before-seen peak. The woman in pink was too close to him. At this moment, the Thunder Dragon raised its head and was going to touch her. No one in the world knew of their relationship. Not even Wang Lin knew, only Qing Shui himself understood. At this moment, Qing Shui's eyes were completely red and instantly closed in. He arrived before the confused woman in pink and grabbed the Thunder Dragon. He then viciously threw it to the side. Die for me! The moment Qing Shui caught the Black Thunder Dragon, countless red snowflakes gathered. Crackling sounds echoed, and the Black Thunder Dragon's body stiffened. The strongest slaughter heart erupted from his hand and entered the Thunder Dragon. A thunderous rumble echoed inside the Thunder Dragon as it collapsed. The burly man coughed out blood and retreated in terror. However, Qing Shui instantly arrived before him, and his hand mercilessly chopped down. This chop caused the burly man to lose his wits. He felt a life-and-death crisis coming. He knew he was going to die. Qing Shui's hand contained an unimaginable amount of slaughter essence. A thunderous rumble echoed and the burly man coughed out several mouthfuls of blood before being forced back several thousand feet. A wound appeared from his forehead and extended to his abdomen as if it was going to rip him in half. However, his body was not cut in half. The anger-filled slaughter energy suddenly weakened during the attack until it dissipated. The burly man's face turned pale as he thought he was dead. He looked up and saw Qing Shui knocked back while coughing out large amounts of black blood. Qing Shui couldn't complete his killing blow. His body couldn't bear it anymore. At this moment, he was dying, and his body was caught by the woman in pink. Looking at his daughter's beautiful face, tears fell from Qing Shui's eyes. The woman in pink was confused. She bit her lower lip. She didn't understand why Qing Shui would do this. She knew who this was. She knew his status was high. The woman in pink softly said, "Why?" Just at this moment, the burly man with wind and thunder roared. His eyes were filled with joy and killing intent as he closed in. At the same time, a thunderous rumble echoed and the light screen around Mu Bingmei collapsed. The evil-looking young man laughed as he stepped into the formation and made his way toward Mu Bingmei, who stared at him coldly. The Lord of the Sealed Realm's lover will definitely make this lord feel very comfortable. Mu Bingmei's eyes revealed the determination to die. The people of the God sect rushed out and were ready to die with their enemy. At this instant, outside the planet formation, Qing Lin, the woman from Summoned River, and Master Hong Shan, who were battling the arcane void cultivators from the outer realm, were also facing their biggest life and death struggles. This life and death crisis could end this battle. A power that could suppress the entire star system appeared above the planet formation. This pressure spread across the system and shook the minds and hearts of all inner realm cultivators. The hundreds of thousands of outer realm cultivators all roared in joy. Under the gazes of countless people, a giant rift appeared above the planet formation. The aura coming from the rift was from the outer realm, and a giant palace flew out. This palace was worshipped by countless outer realm cultivators. This was their holy temple. This was the sovereign's palace. The sovereign had entered the inner realm with his original body. The sovereign wore a black robe and stood on top of the palace. It was impossible to see his face clearly, but you could see his dried-up hand. This hand was as dry as a bone, but you could feel the destructive aura it emitted. After raising his hand, he pressed down on Master Hong Shan, the woman from Summoned River, and Qing Lin. "Everything is over." An ancient and hoarse voice came from the sovereign. As he spoke, a giant palm print appeared. This palm print covered the light from space as if it was solid. It descended upon the planet formation below. Space collapsed, and a suffocating feeling filled the heart of every inner realm cultivator. This feeling turned into despair. Under this palm print, the wind and thunder burly man closed in on Qing Shui and his daughter. The evil-looking young man revealed an obscene smile as he waved his hand and blew everyone away, leaving only Mu Bingmei. He walked toward her. However, just at this critical moment, a sharp scream came from the border between Al Heaven and the Cloud Sea. This sharp was not something a cultivator could create. It was an arrow. An arrow that contained destruction, anger, and slaughter. The monstrous howl echoed and suppressed the sound from the sovereign's palm. At this moment, it replaced every sound in the world. Wang Lin had arrived. Feebly asking, 4,000 words, does that count as a major chapter? Could it be hoping for the like button for the video and the followers too? The burly man grinned as he closed in on Qing Shui and his daughter. Qing Shui's eyes were dim and were about to close. At this moment, he looked into the distance, and although his vision was blurry, his mind felt a familiar aura. This familiar aura belonged to his brother, his junior brother. The woman in pink holding him also raised her head. Her eyes shined like never before and looked ahead. The burly man trembled and suddenly turned around. His eyes were filled with disbelief. On another planet, Mu Bingmei was filled with despair when her body trembled. Her eyes lit up, and with this light in her eyes, she looked extremely beautiful. A happy smile appeared on her face. She was rarely this happy in her life. She knew, she believed that he wouldn't die. Dao Feishan, who was less than 100 feet from Mu Bingmei, was startled when he felt an aura that made his scalp numb. He saw the gentle and happy smile on Mu Bingmei. Although he had never seen Wang Lin, his mind trembled and a terrifying speculation appeared in his mind. He suddenly looked back. There was also that other cultivation planet where countless people that knew Wang Lin was at. Shi Zifeng, Zhan Kongli, Shen Gonghu, Master Flamespark, and countless others. They all looked into the distance and saw the powerful arrow pierce the void. This was an arrow that was hundreds of thousands of feet long and had the power to destroy heaven itself. The tip of the arrow was a circle, and it howled through space, causing the space before it to collapse. Nothing could stop it. There was a person standing on the tip of the arrow, a person wearing white with a head of white hair. One could also faintly see two giant, motionless wheels following closely behind. At this moment, Xing Lin, Master Hong Shan, and the woman in purple from the summoned river that Wang Lin didn't know all looked at the terrifying arrow closing in from the distance. Qing Lin's eyes were filled with disbelief. He vaguely felt like this arrow was familiar and vaguely recognized something, but he didn't dare to imagine. Master Hong Shan was completely stunned. Not only had Wang Lin not died, but his cultivation level had reached such a degree. He was also rushing here in such a heaven-shattering and unimaginable method. The shock of the inner realm cultivators couldn't be compared to what the outer realm cultivators felt at all. At this moment, the minds of the hundreds of thousands of outer realm cultivators all trembled. Their eyes were filled with horror. Some of them recognized Wang Lin and were terrified. In particular, the arcane void cultivators that had participated in killing Wang Lin all turned around in shock. Wang Lin, he is still not dead. This is Li Guang's arrow. The expressions of the two celestial imperial concubines that had witnessed the power of the arrow changed greatly. This all happened in an instant. The arrow howled and closed in from the distance. Every star domain it passed collapsed, forming a giant gully that would exist for an eternality. This gully came from the border to the Cloud Sea. This arrow contained Wang Lin's anger and his slaughter after he went through the brilliant void, summoned river, and Cloud Sea. It instantly flew toward the palm print outside of the sovereign's palace. This was Wang Lin's battle against the sovereign. All of this happened several times faster than lightning. While everyone was still shocked, the arrow closed in on the descending palm print. At this moment, everyone's gazes gathered here. Wang Lin's appearance replaced all light in the world. All the outer realm cultivators, especially the ones at the third step, had to turn their attention toward him. Under their gazes, the howling arrow collided with the sovereign's palm print. The moment they collided, the palm print trembled violently and erupted with 7-colored light. This 7-colored light was bright, but it couldn't suppress the arrow that had no light and only killing intent. Thunderous rumbles echoed like crazy, creating a shockwave at a level that had never been seen before. As the shockwave spread in all directions, the palm print trembled violently and collapsed. When the palm print collapsed, the shocking arrow pierced through it, and it seemed to become even more shocking. It took everyone's breath away and dissipated the danger the inner realm was facing. It flew toward the palace that had come out of the rift. On the palace, the sovereign's black robe was blown back by the wind, revealing his dried-up body. At this moment, there was a twitch on his face, and his eyes became filled with a rare trace of madness. This old man doesn't believe that the Li Guangbao in your hands can create enough power to kill me. The sovereign let out a roar and stepped forward to meet the arrow. In an instant, the sovereign's body appeared before the tip of the arrow. He waved his dried-up right hand, and a 7-colored light curtain appeared. It collided with the arrow. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the star domain. The moment the 7-colored light screen touched the arrow, the yellow, orange, red, and green colors instantly collapsed. Then the blue, indigo, and violet colors became distorted and collapsed. The 7-colored light screen was unable to stop this arrow. Wang Lin's cultivation level was not high enough to fight the sovereign, but only a few people in this world could stop this arrow. The sovereign was not one of them. The sovereign continued to retreat, and the sleeves of his black robe shattered, revealing his 2 dried-up arms. His expression was gloomy as he retreated, and he bit the tip of his tongue to cough out blood. This blood contained a hint of gold, and instantly erupted with the power of the celestial bloodline. A golden sun appeared before him, and the law of origin shrouded the star domain. This old man doesn't he believe? The sovereign pushed the golden sun before him toward the arrow. Get the hell out of here, palm print servant boy. Wang Lin's voice echoed as the arrow collided with the golden sun. A powerful sound wave spread. The countless cultivators screamed as their ears collapsed and blood sprayed out. The golden sun violently trembled, but it couldn't move forward at all, even with the sovereign pushing with both hands. He was being reluctantly pushed back. In the end, a monstrous rumble echoed and the sun exploded, forming a powerful impact. However, it didn't scatter, but under the pressure of the arrow, it all shot toward the sovereign. The sovereign coughed out blood, and the black robe around him shattered, revealing his dried-up body. He was pushed back and smashed into his palace. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and several cracks appeared on the palace. At the same time, the arrow closed in, and just as it was about to hit the palace, the sovereign formed a seal. A giant well suddenly appeared before him. This well contained its own universe. It contained endless space. This well was the sovereign's second Joss Flame realm. This was a treasure the madman had given him back on the celestial immortal continent. The moment he took it out, the arrow arrived. This well wasn't laid down but vertical. The surface of the water rippled, and at this moment, an exact copy of the arrow appeared. This illusionary arrow charged out from the water and shot toward the Liguang arrow. The moment they collided, the illusionary arrow collided, and the sovereign coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with disbelief. You are using Master's immortal celestial body. The immortal celestial body is very precious, and there is only one chance in your life to obtain it. You actually gave it up and wasted it like this, but how many times can you shoot that arrow? I say at most 2. After 2 more shots, you will never be able to become a celestial in your life. Without the celestial blood, you are nothing but an ant. The sovereign's words were interrupted when the arrow landed on him, and the power transferred into his body. His body collapsed, and the palace behind him collapsed with him. This palace had existed since ancient times, and was the spiritual pillar of the outer realm. To the outer realm cultivators, this palace was a holy place that could never be destroyed. However, at this moment, they watched their palace collapse before them. The palace split into countless pieces and exploded. The sovereign was extinguished, the palace collapsed, and the world changed colors. However, the sovereign wasn't completely dead. The moment his body was destroyed and all power from the arrow dissipated, his collapsed flesh began to move. It quickly gathered, and his body reformed outside the rift. The Sealing Extermination Clan S3 life spell. Wang Lin's pupils shrank. The revived sovereign had a pale expression. He didn't hesitate to retreat back into the rift after he revived. His right hand reached out behind him, and the rift collapsed. His escaping figure was extremely embarrassing. The rumble still lingered, and as the sound lingered, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators were silent. Their gazes were all locked onto Wang Lin. That arrow was simply too shocking. On the side of the outer realm arcane void cultivators, the old woman was pale, and her eyes were filled with endless fear. That arrow had completely frightened her. That old man in black was also terrified. When he saw the power of that arrow, it was as if he saw death. There was also those 2 celestial imperial concubines. Although they had high status, they looked at Wang Lin with fear in their eyes. So what if they were celestials from the celestial immortal continent? They still had to fear Wang Lin, who they considered a humble cave cultivator. In the distance, Grandmaster Yun Luo trembled uncontrollably. From her position, she could only see Wang Lin's back. She was familiar with this figure, and she was afraid. This was the back of the figure that destroyed the world that she saw in her divination. Although she is not my lover, she is the mother of my son, Wang Ping. What did you say before? Wang Lin turned around. His gaze was like a sword as he stared at the terrified Dao Feishan, who was 100 feet from Mu Bingmei. Leo dreams of getting a lot of likes for this video, having many followers, plenty of shares, and everyone praising his good reading and the number of words he can read. So happy. Chapter 1657. Decisive Battle 1. Dao Feishan's body trembled. That gaze had caused his mind to tremble. He had heard about Wang Lin but never considered Wang Lin a threat. After he heard that the sovereign and the others had killed Wang Lin with a trap, though they were making a fuss about Wang Lin over nothing. However, it wasn't until this moment that he realized how terrifying Wang Lin was. It had only taken one arrow to kill the sovereign, which he still couldn't believe. The fear in his heart reached a peak. Now, while being gazed at by Wang Lin, his heart pounded rapidly. Wang Lin's gaze was like a sword that swept across the sky and landed on Dao Feishan. Dao Feishan subconsciously backed up a few steps, and his face turned pale. He had almost lost his wits. Wang Lin's words were like the sound of death, leaving his mind blank. He was only at the Nirvana Void stage, and when facing Wang Lin, he had the illusion that he was looking up at a mountain. At this moment, remorse drowned him like a raging sea. He should not have provoked Mu Bingmei. He shouldn't have had thoughts about the Lord of the Sealed Realm's woman. This was the root of his death. However, in the end, he was still a third-step cultivator. Although he was shaking and felt extreme fear, there was still a sense of clarity in his mind. He knew that he was almost certain to die. If there was a hint of hope, it was Mu Bingmei. As Wang Lin spoke, Dao Feishan didn't hesitate to charge toward Mu Bingmei after he subconsciously retreated a few steps. His eyes were filled with madness. A madness for survival. He was going to capture Mu Bingmei and trade her for his survival. This was his last and only hope. The 100 feet distance was nothing for a third-step cultivator, but this depended on who was watching. In Wang Lin's eyes, Dao Feishan wasn't qualified. He got within 10 feet of Mu Bingmei, but she didn't dodge at all. She coldly looked at Dao Feishan, her beautiful eyes revealing disdain. Wang Lin's expression remained calm and he took a step forward. His speed was far beyond Dao Feishan's imagination. His shadow was still there when he appeared before Mu Bingmei and his hand reached out. It was as if Dao Feishan had presented himself and Wang Lin had caught his wrist. "You recording death?" Wang Lin spoke coldly. He stepped forward while holding Dao Feishan's body. Dao Feishan couldn't control his body at all as Wang Lin dragged him into the air, and he was smashed into the ground below. A thunderous rumble rang out and a miserable scream echoed. Only then did the surrounding cultivators react. After Dao Feishan's body smashed into the ground, he was thrown into the air by Wang Lin once more. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Just as he had said, Mu Bingmei was not his lover, but she was Wang Ping's mother. This Dao Feishan had dared to have vile intents toward her, and this was something Wang Lin would never allow. He stepped forward and instantly closed in on Dao Feishan. His right hand pointed at Dao Feishan's chest, and a power surged into Dao Feishan's body. This power went for Dao Feishan's right hand, which exploded into a mess of flesh and blood. "Unveil eye!" Without pausing, Wang Lin pointed once more. A thunderous rumble echoed and Dao Feishan's left arm collapsed. Dao Feishan let out a miserable roar after losing both his arms. He was powerless before Wang Lin, and the rest of the Outer Realm cultivators were still shocked by that arrow, so no one dared to come to save him. Even if they were to come, they were in no rush. Wang Lin's right hand pointed out several times. Dao Feishan's legs shattered into a mess. The last palm was the palm of death. After destroying Dao Feishan's limbs, he mercilessly smashed down on Dao Feishan's forehead. Popping sounds echoed inside Dao Feishan. He coughed out large amounts of blood and his eyes dimmed. Even his miserable screams weakened. Then his body trembled and exploded. Blood splattered everywhere, but none of it landed on Wang Lin. Wang Lin waved his sleeve and all the blood was pushed away. After his body collapsed, Dao Feishan's origin soul was seriously injured but not dead. He flew out of his collapsed body and was in a daze when Wang Lin grabbed his neck. Wang Lin mercilessly squeezed, and with a bang, a third-step Nirvana Void cultivator died. This bloody scene caused the Outer Realm cultivators to gasp and retreat. The burly man before Qing Shui felt his scalp go numb. He retreated without hesitation. However, just as he started retreating, Wang Lin suddenly turned. His red eyes locked on to the burly man. The burly man trembled, and after a moment of pause, fled even faster. "You hurt my senior brother, how could I let you escape?" Wang Lin moved in a flash and appeared behind the burly man. He waved his right hand. The burly man let out a crazy roar and suddenly turned around. His hands formed seals and his palms shot toward Wang Lin. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the burly man coughed out blood. Cracking sounds came from his arms as they collapsed. He screamed as his body was pushed back over 1,000 feet. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent, and he caught up to the burly man. His right hand closed and moved toward the burly man's chest. The burly man's eyes were filled with madness from despair. He roared as he bit the tip of this tongue and shot out an arrow of blood. It turned into a bloody gust of wind that turned into a storm that rushed toward Wang Lin. Inside the storm, there were countless red balls of thunder. This made it look like the blood arrow could destroy the world. After reaching the third step with the wind essence, you also obtained an incomplete thunder essence. "That is indeed rare." Wang Lin's gaze swept over, but this hand's didn't stop at all. His palm landed on the storm, and then his fingers clenched into a fist as he pulled back. With this, the bloodstorm collapsed, and as it collapsed, the thunder inside trembled. Wang Lin was the master of thunder in this world, and his thunder essence had reached perfection. All thunder had to surrender to him, much less these small balls of thunder. "Discover now." "Scram," Wang Lin yelled, and the countless balls of thunder inside the storm trembled and scattered in all directions. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. The power of wind and thunder couldn't even withstand one blow from Wang Lin. After the storm was destroyed, Wang Lin stepped forward and appeared beside the burly man, who was filled with despair. He raised his right hand and formed a sword with his finger. He then casually pointed at the burly man's neck. "As punishment for injuring my senior brother, I want you to suffer the greatest pain in the world." With a point, the burly man's neck began to swell. The blood in his body moved rapidly as it was being sucked away by Wang Lin's finger. In an instant, the burly man let out a miserable scream, and his face turned pale. All the blood in his body condensed at his neck. His neck was now dark purple, and a giant bump had appeared on it. This bump contained all the blood in his body. All the blood in his body gathered at this point in an instant. The dark purple bump exploded and large amounts of blood sprayed everywhere until the very last drop of blood was gone. His scream was heart-wrenching. This kind of pain was difficult to describe, but even cultivators found it almost impossible to bear. However, this was not the end. Although all the blood was drawn out, the suction force remained. Thus, what was being sucked was his life force. Large amounts of vitality was sucked out from his neck. He screamed, and in an instant later, he turned into a skeleton. His eyes were bulged, and his expression was terrifying. However, his face had no color left, as if he was dead. However, the suction force from Wang Lin's fingers didn't decrease, but increased. Under this powerful suction force, the burly man's skeleton-like body trembled. Then his miserable screams weakened and his bones began to melt. His body turned into liquid, and when it melted, even his origin soul was pulled out. This gave a powerful blow to the minds of all the people watching. They had personally witnessed a third-step Nirvana Void cultivator have everything sucked out from his body. In the end, all of it formed a ball of gas in Wang Lin's hand. This ball of gas was the burly man. Holding the ball of gas, Wang Lin arrived before Qing Shui. He pressed his free hand on Qing Shui, who had his eyes closed and was about to die. This caused Qing Shui's body to tremble, and he suddenly opened his eyes. 7 strands of black gas rushed out of his body, moving like pythons. They were reluctant to leave, but they had been forced out of Qing Shui's body by Wang Lin's powerful cultivation. As the 7 strands of black gas dissipated, although Qing Shui's eyes were still dim, the death aura in his body dissipated. Then vitality began to return to his body. After dispelling the poison in Qing Shui's body, Wang Lin pushed the ball of fog he had extracted from the burly man into Qing Shui. After absorbing this, Senior Brother S recovery can speed up. Wang Lin glanced at the stunned woman in pink beside Xianxia, who was staring at him, and then turned toward the sky. 3,000 words in a major chapter. Wish that the like button for the video would break. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1658, Decisive Battle, 2. Outer Realm Cultivators, you all have invaded my inner realm for 100 years and taken countless lives, and now you besieging this place. Since you all don't want to leave, and since you are all so determined to kill, then all of you don't need to leave. Today is the decisive battle. As Wang Lin spoke, he raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. A thunderous rumble echoed, and a huge, motionless wheel appeared. Kill! Wang Lin let out a roar and then charged forward. As Wang Lin roared, the remaining inner realm cultivators became hot-blooded. They no longer hid inside the planet formation but charged out. Kill! Those that charged out with them included Qing Lin, Master Hong Shan, the woman in purple from the Summoned River, as well as Mu Bing Mei, the God Sect, and countless inner realm cultivators that had been pushed to the limit. There were less than 80,000 people from the inner realm remaining, but these 80,000 people were not afraid of death. With Wang Lin's roar, they went crazy. Life and death formation, suppress all life. Wang Lin pointed at the sky and the motionless wheel began to turn. As it slowly turned, a monstrous suppression force spread out and descended on the tens of thousands of outer realm cultivators. A thunderous rumble echoed and tens of thousands of outer realm cultivators coughed out blood due to the pressure. Some directly exploded and died. However, there were simply too many outer realm cultivators. After a brief panic, the outer realm cultivators struggled to let out a roar. They resisted the suppression and began a battle to the death with the inner realm cultivators. The inner realm cultivators all flew out from the planet formation. Wang Lin charged in front, and after using the life and death formation that shocked the hundreds of thousands of cultivators, he charged at the outer realm arcane void cultivators. His goal was to kill all the third step cultivators here. His gaze swept by, and among the hundreds of thousands of cultivators, the first that Wang Lin saw was the celestial imperial concubine with the harp. This woman had used the 5 burial spell to cause Wang Lin extreme pain back then. He still remembered having his 5 internal organs wither and turned into black water. That pain was enough to turn into deep hatred. Wang Lin ignored her identity and her beauty. She had to be killed. With one step, Wang Lin turned into a ray of light and entered the outer realm army. He charged through, setting off a monstrous rumble. Anyone that blocked him collapsed and died. As Wang Lin moved forward, he left behind a bloody path. The outer realm cultivators that died had their bodies collapse, but their heads were preserved. They followed behind Wang Lin, forming a human head cape. This cape continued to grow as Wang Lin charged through the army. It was still increasing in number. A thunderous rumble echoed as he moved. The expression of the celestial imperial concubine that was locked onto by Wang Lin changed greatly, and she quickly retreated. Although Wang Lin was only at the mid-stage of spirit void, she felt fear toward Wang Lin due to the Li Guang arrow, so she ignored Wang Lin's cultivation level. In her view, Wang Lin was very difficult to beat. Fighting with him would lead to her death. This was an unspeakable feeling, but it felt so real that the fear in her heart became even stronger. As she retreated, Wang Lin closed in from the distance. As he moved, blood splattered everywhere as countless cultivators screamed and died. The heads floated behind Wang Lin, giving him an aura as if he was going to destroy the world. With a single step, Wang Lin arrived within 1,000 feet of the celestial imperial concubine. His eyes were red, and he let out a roar as he took a step forward. With this step, he swept across the world and space itself seemed to collapse. He appeared 100 feet away from the celestial imperial concubine. The celestial imperial concubine's face turned pale when she felt Wang Lin's killing intent. She clenched her teeth and waved her right hand at the void. The ancient harp Wang Lin was familiar with appeared. She put the harp before her and her hands touched it. Music notes began to appear, forming a sound wave that shot toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was fierce, as the ancient god stars between his eyebrows rotated rapidly. Popping sounds echoed from his body, but he didn't expand. Instead, his ancient god power gathered in every part of his body. With one step, space itself rumbled as the endless sound waves echoed. These sound waves were indeed strong and caused Wang Lin a certain amount of harm, but at this moment, he simply didn't care. He endured it with his powerful ancient god body and rushed forward. Seeing Wang Lin closing in, the celestial imperial concubine's face turned pale. Without hesitation, her hands formed a seal and she pressed on the harp. The harp echoed loudly and 5 sound waves appeared. 5 burial spell: heart, liver, spleen, lungs, kidney. The celestial imperial concubine let out a sharp scream. She raised her right hand and pressed down on Wang Lin. With this press, Wang Lin's body trembled and he felt intense pain. However, he was not the same as back then. He was now a mid-stage spirit void cultivator, and with his ancient god body, he could kill arcane void cultivators. The intense pain was still as unbearable as before, and his internal organs began to break, but Wang Lin was even faster. With determination and killing intent, Wang Lin threw a punch with his right hand. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The ancient head appeared before Wang Lin along with the shadows of the 3 ancient clans. All of them entered his fist as he punched. From far away, this scene looked shocking, and Wang Lin's punch caused the star system to tremble. The countless outer realm cultivators all retreated in terror. As Wang Lin punched, a shadow 10,000 feet tall flew toward the celestial imperial concubine. In an instant, this illusory punch landed on the celestial imperial concubine and collided with the ripples of her 5 burial spell. A thunderous rumble echoed across the battlefield. The illusory punch collapsed, revealing the retreating celestial imperial concubine, who was coughing up blood. Blood also flew from the corner of Wang Lin's mouth. This time, he was battling the celestial imperial concubine's original body, not a shadow like before. She was someone who didn't belong here, someone from the celestial immortal continent. The celestial imperial concubine wiped away the blood from the corner of her mouth, and the fear in her eyes became even stronger. She valued her life far more than anyone else here. She understood that she was not someone from here. This was merely a cave world, and her status was far above this cave. The more she thought this way, the more she feared death. As she retreated, Wang Lin rushed forward, ignoring his injuries, with killing intent in his eyes along with crazed determination. The pale celestial immortal concubine formed a seal and a golden light shined. The power of the celestial bloodline spread across the stars. The power of the celestial bloodline turned into a pressure that shrouded the area. Wang Lin, there is no great vendetta between us. Why are you the celestial imperial concubine's voice was sharp, but before she could finish speaking, her voice turned into a twisted scream. She gave up all celestial spells and retreated like crazy. Because as she spoke, the bow that killed the sovereign appeared in Wang Lin's hand. The moment she retreated, Wang Lin charged forward. As he moved forward, he waved his hand, and the bow disappeared. He didn't want to shoot the bow, he took it out to suppress the other, so the other wouldn't dare to use their spell. At this moment, as the celestial imperial concubine was retreating in fear, Wang Lin pointed at her and roared, "Stop!" With one word, the celestial imperial concubine's body stopped, but only for a moment. She had the celestial bloodline, and was able to break free after only a moment. However, that was enough for Wang Lin to catch up. As Wang Lin closed in, his hands formed a seal and a monstrous black wind formed black dragons. Endless rain fell and an illusionary earth appeared and shattered. It was Baifan's celestial spells. However, this was only a setup. The purpose of using these celestial spells was to use the last spell, Dark Moon Clear Sky. The moment the spell appeared, a blood moon appeared, and his shadow landed on the celestial imperial concubine's body. Dark Moon Clear Sky. Wang Lin let out a roar and a moon mark appeared on her face. A miserable scream came from her as her beautiful face was ripped open. She turned around and looked viciously at Wang Lin. She gave up on escaping and charged at Wang Lin. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and their bodies collided. Their spells collided, but the celestial imperial concubine's body was knocked back. Her face was deathly pale and she coughed out blood. Wang Lin also retreated and coughed out blood. However, he only retreated a few steps before he charged forward once more. He raised his right hand and let out a roar. The war spirit print appeared. The giant palm print charged at the celestial imperial concubine the moment it appeared. The celestial imperial concubine's expression changed greatly, and she quickly formed a seal, causing celestial energy to gather. A vague shadow appeared before her, and before the shadow could take shape, Wang Lin's voice entered her mind. Cultivator of the celestial immortal continent, concubine of the 7 Dao sect master. Do you think I don't know everything? The truth was exposed, and the celestial imperial concubine's spell paused for a moment. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. She didn't expect Wang Lin to know of this. Just at this instant, there was a flash of bloodlight in Wang Lin's hand, and the blood sword appeared. Wang Lin raised his hand and mercilessly sliced down. 3,000 words in a major chapter, hoping to be shared, hoping to get the like button hit for the video. Chapter 1659. Decisive Battle 3. When Wang Lin killed, he always relied on his plans. Although the plans might not be amazing, at the short moments of life and death, they always played a big role. In particular, his grasp of timing had reached another level, like how when the celestial imperial concubine was about to use her celestial bloodline spell, Wang Lin had brought out the Li Guang bow without hesitation. The moment the bow appeared, the celestial imperial concubine gave up casting the spell and escaped in fear. The celestial imperial concubine wasn't too sure if Wang Lin had the determination to fire another shot. Then when the celestial imperial concubine was forced to the limit by the war spirit print, and was about to use her celestial bloodline spell again, Wang Lin said that line that shocked her. That line might have only caused the celestial imperial concubine to pause for a moment, but for cultivators, that pause was fatal. The moment the celestial imperial concubine paused in shock, the war spirit print closed in. At the same time, Wang Lin raised the blood sword and slashed down. All of this happened in a flash, fast beyond belief. A monstrous rumble echoed. The war spirit print landed and the blood sword chopped down. This was a life and death calamity for the celestial imperial concubine. Her screams slowly became faint as her body trembled and collapsed. Then her soul was destroyed. Wang Lin also coughed out blood. At the moment of her death, she completed her bloodline spell. Although it was covered by the war spirit print, its power entered Wang Lin's body. It caused Wang Lin's body to tremble, and he retreated another 1,000 feet as he coughed out blood. He had only killed one person and was injured himself, but it was worth it. When he killed the celestial imperial concubine, the slaughter between the inner and outer realms had already formed a river of blood. The screams of slaughter echoed across the stars. Wang Lin retreated as he coughed out blood. He was secretly adjusting himself, but he suddenly felt a moment of danger. Wang Lin avoided the danger and turned around to see a ray of sword energy pass by. The sword energy swept across the stars and ripped open a big spatial rift. The old man in black that was part of Wang Lin's life and death crisis had taken advantage of Wang Lin's injury and launched a sneak attack. The old man in black held up a sword and shot a ray of sword energy at Wang Lin. He is injured. This is the best chance to kill him. Coldness filled Wang Lin's eyes and he immediately retreated. His body turned into black gas and retreated into the outer realm army that was batting against the inner realm. The mist his body turned into spread out and shrouded the outer realm cultivators. Miserable screams echoed, and as the mist left, corpses that had been drained of vitality, flesh, and blood slowly scattered. The killing intent in the eyes of the old man in black became even stronger as he chased after Wang Lin. The mist that Wang Lin had turned into rapidly retreated, and all the outer realm cultivators it engulfed died. In just a few breaths, tens of thousands of outer realm cultivators died. At this moment, the old man in black moved even faster. With one step, he closed in on the mist that Wang Lin had turned into. He then raised his sword and mercilessly chopped down. A ray of monstrous sword energy appeared. Just as the sword energy closed in, the mist rapidly shrank and Wang Lin reformed his body. A majority of his injuries had recovered after devouring that many outer realm cultivators. At the moment his body reformed, there was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes. As the old man closed in, Wang Lin raised his right hand. Karma formation. With this, the motionless wheel formed by the karma formation appeared before Wang Lin. With a push from Wang Lin, the giant karma wheel flew forward and collided with the sword the old man as he chopped down. A thunderous rumble echoed. The old man's sword energy shattered and he coughed out blood as he was knocked back. The karma formation also collapsed and shattered. However, the loss of the formation didn't make Wang Lin feel heartache at all. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light. He started laughing, then his hands formed a seal. His right hand formed a fist and waved. Karma formation, take form. Your sword is the karmic cause of my formation. The wheel shattering into countless pieces is the karmic effect. Karma formation open. As Wang Lin waved his hand, the shattered karma formation turned into cloud of chaotic gas and swept the area. There were more than 50,000 strands of karma gas. Each strand instantly changed into the sword energy that the old man had released. As a result, more than 50,000 rays of sword energy appeared. This was the karma formation. As Wang Lin waved his hand, the sword energy formed by the karma formation scattered toward the outer realm cultivators. Miserable screams echoed, and in an instant, more than rays of 50,000 sword energy killed more than 50,000 outer realm cultivators. Their deaths dyed space dark red. The celestial imperial concubine was difficult to kill, but killing an early-stage arcane void cultivator like you is easy. Wang Lin stepped through the collapsed karma formation and charged at the old man. Left hand is life, right hand is death, life and death seal. Wang Lin closed in on the old man and completely ignored the spells the old man was trying to use. His left hand pressed down, followed by his right. The life and death aura touched the old man's body and caused a thunderous rumble. The old man coughed out blood and retreated with a fierce expression. His hands started forming a seal to use a spell, but Wang Lin didn't see any of this. He closed his eyes, and at this moment everything in the world was false. With his eyes closed, he quickly moved forward and went through the old man's spells.